Chapter 40. A person walked out of the darkness slowly. He wore a gray robe and a clown mask on his head. The short young man was startled. "Brother, it's a ghost." "Ghost my *SS. You idiot. Is this AF King human?" The tall young man slapped him. The short young man covered his face, feeling wronged. He mumbled, "Your mother is my mother. You're scolding me. You're scolding yourself." The tall young man could only suppress his anger and take out a dagger from the motorcycle's box. He shouted at the clown who was walking out of the darkness, "Stop right there." The clown seemed like he did not hear him and kept walking to Yi-Wen, who was shaking. He then took off his robe and put it on her. He said, "Follow me, Yi-Wen." The short young man said weakly, "Brother, he's taking the girl that we're interested in away. I'm going to kill you for being such a busybody." The tall young man had a ferocious look on his face. He picked up the dagger and stabbed it at the clown. Yi-Wen could not help but scream in fear. However, her scream came to a halt because she realized that the clown next to her had grabbed the young man's hand. "You!" The tall young man was shocked. Without saying a word, the clown grabbed him and threw him into the air. He threw him high up in the air as if he was throwing a rotten egg. Yi-Wen covered her mouth with her hand. She was so shocked that she almost screamed. Her breasts were undulating. He tossed him high into the sky with one hand. Was he still human? "Brother, come out and watch the flying man," the short young man said by instinct as he watched that dumbstruck. He then looked around and said, "Where's my brother?" Bang! As a loud thud came, a person fell from the sky and landed hard on the ground face first. His head was smashed directly while brain juice and blood flowed out. Yi-Wen had never seen such a gory scene before. She could not help but scream. Subsequently, she felt her stomach churn. She could not stop vomiting while holding onto the corner of the wall. The short young man walked to the body with his eyes wide open. "My brother's gone. He's dead. You killed my brother. I'm going to kill you." He threw himself at the clown as if he were going to fight for his life. The clown raised his hand and slapped him. This slap sent him flying into the wall. His head sank deep into the wall, and his legs that were exposed twitched a few times before drooping down. Yi-Wen watched that in horror. "Why, you killed someone. You killed someone." "Shut up if you don't want to die," the clown said coldly and dragged her outside. Yi-Wen's heart could not stop pounding. She was grateful that he had saved her, but she was also terrified of his powerful ability and cruel methods. She was worried that he would kill her too. Fortunately, he didn't say anything along the way, nor did he make any excessive movements. The worry in Yi-Wen's heart faded away gradually. She could not help but look at his strange attire and asked, "Hey, who are you?" The clown said nothing. "You must be a legendary ancient warrior, right?" Yi-Wen was getting bolder. She had heard Lu Feng mentioning ancient warriors when he was bragging about them. He said that ancient warriors killed people like they were killing chickens and that they were more powerful than ordinary people. In reality, Lu Feng had never seen one before. He had only heard about it. Although that was the case, Yi-Wen, Zhao Qian, and the rest were looking forward to it. The clown remained silent. Yi-Wen did not mind. Instead, she said while giggling, "Don't worry. I won't tell anyone about you killing people. But why did you save me?" That was what she could not figure out. The person appeared as if he was looking for her. Could he have known that she was in danger beforehand? Most importantly, he was in disguise. She could not see his face clearly with a helmet on. Due to the poor lighting, even his body and clothes were a little blurry. "We're here." The clown stopped walking all of a sudden when they were about to walk out of the alley with her. Yi-Wen knew that they were going to be separated. She felt reluctant for no reason, so she could not help but ask, "You saved my life after all. Can you take off your mask and let me see what you look like? I'll repay you later." "No need," the clown said coldly and walked into the darkness again. Yi-Wen shouted immediately, "Hey, can't you at least tell me your name?" The clown disappeared within the blink of an eye without even turning his head. Why are you pretending to be cold? You're just like that guy with the surname Yi. Yiwen stomped her foot in disappointment. She added, but you're much more powerful than that guy. He pretended to be deep because he didn't get along. As for you, perhaps you're the lonesome powerhouse that people always say. Lu Feng and the rest's shouts came from far away as they were talking. Yiwen could only look deep into the alley and walk to the side of the road, waving at Lu Feng and the rest who were far away. Lu Feng rushed over with the rest. He took a good look at her and asked worriedly, "Where did you go, Wen? We were so worried." "I didn't go anywhere," Yiwen said in a neutral tone. If this were the past, she might have been a little touched to see Lu Feng showing his true feelings. However, after what happened earlier, Lu Feng's position in her heart dropped. He was replaced by the clown who wore a mask and had a cold aura but was extremely ruthless when he attacked. Perhaps Lu Feng was rich and good-looking, but money alone was not enough for a man's charm. Most importantly, he had to be powerful. Meanwhile, women lacked a sense of security, let alone a person who had just saved her life. The difference between the two of them was obvious. Lu Feng was slightly stunned. He seemed to notice the distance in her voice. "What's wrong, Wen? I told you that I'm fine. Can't you be more annoying?" Yiwen said impatiently. Zhao Qian, who was standing aside, took out the bracelet and said, "Oh yeah, you accidentally left this in the KTV. The staff sent it to us after they found out." "Isn't this the stupid thing that Yi Chen gave to Wen? Why are you keeping it? Throw it away." Lu Feng snickered and was going to take the bracelet away as he spoke. Yiwen seemed to have thought of something. She snatched it away first and scoffed. "Throw what away? I'll return it to him tomorrow. I don't care about what he has." "That's right. I'll find a reason to fire him after you return it to him tomorrow," Lu Feng said while smiling. "It's getting late. Let's go home." Zhang Li yawned, looking sleepy. Subsequently, the few of them left after getting into the car. Yi Chen, who was standing far away, watched the car drive away. He looked normal and eventually turned around to rush home. This was the last time. Chapter 41. The next day, Yi Chen did not go to work. Instead, he went directly to the villa that Lin Tai had given him, 9 Dragons Bay. 9 Dragons Bay was located in the development zone of Lin City's villa complex, right in the middle. It was surrounded by a man-made lake that looked like 9 dragons that wanted to take off. That was why it was called 9 Dragons Bay. Yi Chen stood by the artificial lake and looked at the villa across him. He could not help but secretly nod. It seemed like Lin Tai had really spent a lot back then. He did not choose to row the boat over. Instead, he performed a light body skill and leaped onto the surface of the lake. His figure quickly ran towards the other side of the lake. His figure was like that of a dragon or a tiger, and the tips of his feet stepped on the lotus leaves, showing no signs of falling. If an outsider were to see this scene, they would definitely be shocked speechless. In a few breaths, he arrived at the entrance of the opposite villa. Just as he was about to take out the key to open the door, an old man in a long gown rushed out from inside. "Are you Mr. Yi?" the old man said respectfully after opening the metal door. Yi Chen asked, "Are you with Lin Tai?" "Mr. Yi, my name is Li Fu. You can just call me Ah Fu. Bao Guo arranged for me to serve you early in the morning, including your daily life, as well as the cleaning of the villa." Ah Fu bowed very low. Yi Chen nodded and subsequently walked into the villa. Ah Fu followed him closely. There was a garden, a swimming pool, and a hot spring everywhere they looked. Ah Fu would introduce them every now and then. In the General Affairs Office of Lin City Development Zone, Yi Ming, the deputy director of the office, looked at his wife, daughter, and Lu Feng before him. He said rather helplessly, "Why are you guys here?" Dong Xuebing said something to Xiao Wu, who was on duty, and then led the other 3 out of the General Affairs Office. This was not a place to chat. When they reached the top of a hill behind the General Affairs office, they could see the villas at the foot of the hill. Yi Ming then turned his head to look at Yi Wen and said, "I don't think it's a day off today. Why aren't you at work?" Yi Wen lowered her head and said nothing. "Why are you still going to work?" "Our daughter is about to die from anger because of that guy," Yi Wen's mother, Yang Hui, said angrily. Yi Ming was stunned and asked, "Which guy? What's going on?" "Your nephew, Yi Chen." Yang Hui glared at him and sneered. "Yesterday was Wen's birthday, and your good nephew gave her a worthless toy in front of her colleagues." Yi Ming looked stunned. "Is that all? You know little Chen's family situation better than I do. It's enough that he gave a gift to express his sincerity. Why are you still so calculative? What are you talking about? Does our daughter not want face anymore?" Yang Hui yelled at him sharply. "I told you not to introduce him to Wen's company, but you didn't listen. In the end, that brat messed around in the company, making Wen unable to lift her head." Yi Ming frowned and looked at Yi Wen. "Wen, is that true?" Lu Feng, who was standing aside, said immediately, "That's not all, Uncle Yi. Ever since Yi Chen came to our company, he disrespected his colleagues and leaders. He slacked off and came late. If he wasn't Wen's cousin, I would have fired him a long time ago." One could say that he almost described Yi Chen as a sinful B** starred to defame him. Yi Wen, who had been keeping her head down, lifted her head to take a glance. Her lips moved slightly, but she said nothing. Although many of Lu Feng's words were made up, she did not defend herself in the end. "It was all because that guy was so annoying." Yi Ming shook his head. He still did not believe it until now because his impression of Yi Chen had always been a sensible and obedient kid. Yang Hui could not help but scoff upon seeing him like that. "Did you hear that? Lu Feng said that, so how can it be fake?" "Yi Ming, I don't get it. You're the deputy director of the development zone's office after all. Why do you care so much about a piece of trash?" "That's because he's my nephew. His father and I are brothers from the same mother." Yi Ming looked at her expressionlessly and said in his deep voice. Seeing that her parents were going to fight again, Yi Wen stopped them all of a sudden. "Alright, can you guys stop talking? I'm so annoyed." At the same time, her disgust toward Yi Chen had peaked. It was all that guy's fault. If not for him, she would not have been raped last night, and her parents would not be fighting like this. "Look guys. That looks like Yi Chen," Lu Feng exclaimed all of a sudden at that moment. The few of them looked up and down where he was pointing. They saw a skinny young man walking out of the villas. "It's really him. He's like a ghost that won't go away." Yang Hui's face turned grim at that moment. "But why is he going to the villas? The people living there are all billionaires. Is he going to steal something?" Lu Feng said in a strange tone. He was fascinated by the development zone. Even the cheapest house cost 20,000 yuan per square meter, especially the Nine Dragons Bay in the middle. It would not be an exaggeration to call it a palace among villas. However, he was merely fascinated by it. He knew that he would not be able to afford it even if he worked hard for hundreds of years. Yang Hui glanced at Yi Ming and scoffed, "Look at your great-nephew. I can't believe he's reduced to stealing." "Don't talk nonsense." Yi Ming's expression turned slightly grim. He then took out his phone and called Yi Chen. Yi Chen had just gotten out of Nine Dragons Bay. Just when he was going home, he received a call from his second uncle all of a sudden. He lifted his head to look at the mountain. As expected, he saw his second uncle and the rest. He walked over immediately and looked at Lu Feng and Yi Wen in extreme surprise. Subsequently, he said to Yi Ming while smiling, "Second uncle, why are you guys here?" Yi Wen turned around and refused to look at him. Yang Hui had disdain on her face while Lu Feng was secretly gloating. "Your second aunt is here to visit me, so I'm here to talk to them," Yi Ming said casually. He looked at Yi Chen and changed the topic. "Xiaochen, why are you here?" Although he said that, his heart was in turmoil. He was really worried that Yi Chen would come to this rich district to steal things. Although Yi Wen's back was facing Yi Chen, she pricked up her ears quietly. Yang Hui and Lu Feng glared at Yi Chen, anticipating his answer. Yi Chen smiled and said, "Second uncle, I'm here to look at a house." "Look at a house? You bought a house here?" Yi Ming was stunned at first, then he was shocked. Yi Chen nodded. "You can say that." As soon as he said that, Yang Hui scoffed. Yang Hui immediately sneered and said, "You bought a house in this development zone? Are you sure you're not lying to us?" "Yi Chen, aren't you bragging too much? Do you know how much the average house price is in this development zone?" Lu Feng could not help but laugh out loud. Subsequently, he extended 2 fingers and said, "To tell you the truth, the average price is $25,000. The cheapest is $17,000. Those who can buy a house here are all billionaires." He looked at Yi Chen in disdain after saying that. He seemed to be hoping to see the panic on Yi Chen's face after his lie was exposed. However, Yi Chen merely gave a short response. Yi Wen secretly shook her head. He was hopeless. He would never change. The smile on Yi Ming's face turned cold slowly. He looked disappointed that Yi Chen did not live up to his expectations. Even he thought that Yi Chen was bragging. Yang Hui crossed her arms before her chest and said wryly, "Since you said that you bought a house here, sure. Show us which one it is. Your second uncle might know it." "That's right. Uncle Yi is the deputy director after all. He supervised the construction of these villas," Lu Feng said as if he wanted to stir up trouble. Yi Chen looked at Yi Ming and subsequently turned around to point at 9 Dragons Bay, at the foot of the mountain. He said, "That one." Ha 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 ha! Lu Feng was stunned at first. He was the first to laugh out loud while holding his tummy. "Yi Chen, are you saying that you bought 9 Dragons Bay?" "Actually, I didn't buy it. Someone gave it to me," Yi Chen said while smiling. Yang Hui turned her head to look at Yi Ming, who looked grim. She said gloatingly, "Oh no. Your nephew is hopeless." Although she did not know much about houses, she knew that 9 Dragons Bay was the best among the villas. The rest cost 20,000 to 30,000 yuan per square meter. Did that not mean that 9 Dragons Bay cost 50,000 to 60,000 yuan per square meter? If that was the case, the entire villa, including the swimming pool, garden, and garage, would cost at least 70 million yuan. Yi Ming took a deep breath in and said to Yi Chen with a complicated expression while looking at him, "Xiao Chen, what do you want me to say to you?" Sigh. He was very disappointed in Yi Chen at the moment. Yi Wen chuckled and thought to herself, "Dad, you finally know what kind of person this guy is now." "Uncle Yi, since Yi Chen insists that 9 Dragons Bay is his, why don't we do this? We'll get Yi Chen to show us what the mansion looks like," Lu Feng said all of a sudden as he rolled his eyes. Chapter 42. Seeing Yang Hui and Lu Feng teasing Yi Chen with all their might, Yi Ming could not help but say, "Forget it. Xiao Chen was just joking. Don't take it seriously. Go back." Yang Hui opened her mouth and scoffed. Meanwhile, Lu Feng looked disappointed. He could not wait to see Yi Chen embarrass himself. However, since Yi Ming had already said that, he would seem overbearing if he insisted. Just when they were planning to leave, Yi Chen said without even thinking, "Sure, second uncle." However, Yi Chen said without thinking, "Sure, second uncle. I happen to be free today. If you guys really want to see it, I can bring you guys there now." The few of them were stunned to hear that. They thought they had heard it wrong. Yi Wen glanced at him in utter disgust. "How long are you going to pretend? My dad has already taken the initiative to give you a way out. Not only do you not understand, but you're still acting tough. Your lies will be exposed eventually." "Xiao Chen, you." Yi Ming frowned. He had no idea what to say at the moment. Lu Feng was secretly elated. He interrupted immediately, "Uncle Yi, since Yi Chen has taken the initiative to invite us, let's go take a look. Otherwise, he'll think that we're not showing him respect." "Yi Chen, oh Yi Chen, you're really seeking death this time. I'd like to see how you're going to clean up after your lies are exposed. Yi Ming glanced at Yi Chen helplessly. Just when he was going to speak, Yang Hui grabbed his hand and walked down. She said as they walked, "Why are you still talking so much? Your nephew has grown up. It's only right for him to invite you, a senior, to his new mansion." Yiwen did not want to go at first. However, she was furious after seeing Yi Chen pretending to be calm. She clenched her teeth and followed them to the villas below. Yi Ming shook his head as he walked. He was secretly thinking about how he could help Yi Chen out of the situation later. Meanwhile, he could teach him a lesson without hurting his pride. Over 10 minutes later, the few of them arrived at the man-made lake across Nine Dragons Bay. As they looked far away, they could see the beautiful scenery around Nine Dragons Bay. All of them were shocked by the palace that could be described as a villa. Seeing that there was no way out, Yang Hui glanced at Yi Chen while smirking. She said gloatingly, "Xiao Chen, there's no way out? Why don't you, the master, tell us how we're going to get there? There's a man-made lake around here. The width of the lake should be more than 10 meters, and there's no bridge. I think the owner of the villa did this on purpose to prevent some riffraff from going over." Lu Feng introduced while smiling. He emphasized on the word shady on purpose. He even glanced at Yi Chen meaningfully. Yi Ming sighed and took over the conversation. "This villa belongs to the wealthy Lin Tai. You guys might not have heard of Lin Tai, but you guys should know Brother Leopard." "Brother Leopard?" Lu Feng inhaled sharply, his face filled with shock. "You mean Brother Leopard who controls the entire underground of Lin City? His power even covers the entire 3 provinces of Tiannan?" He knew a little about Brother Leopard. He could still vaguely remember the last time he and the others went online in the internet cafe. They had offended Brother Leopard's underling, Brother Viper. Even Chen Wu, who ran amok on East Street, was as obedient as a quail in front of Viper. How terrifying was Brother Leopard? "Yes, it's him." Yi Ming nodded and said with fear on his face, "What you guys don't know is that not only is he ruthless in the dark, but nobody dares to offend him in the open. It's not an exaggeration to say that he's a man of the law." "Xiaochen, didn't you say that this villa belongs to you? Why is Brother Leopard involved?" Yang Hui looked at Yi Chen, pretending to be confused. Yi Chen smiled calmly. "It used to be Lin Tai's, but he gave it to me." "Say, Yi Chen, can you stop pretending?" Lu Feng could no longer hold back his ridicule. He said with a scoff, "Brother Leopard isn't to be trifled with. You've claimed his villa and brought us here. If he finds out about this, everyone here will be in trouble." "Don't worry. He wouldn't dare." Yi Chen smiled lightly and took out his phone to make a call. He said, "Get the speedboat here." The smirk on Lu Feng's face grew when he saw that. "Keep pretending. You really won't give up until you reach the Yellow River. If you really offend Brother Leopard, I'll be the first to say that you lied to us." Yiwen looked at Yi Chen in disgust. She turned her head to say to Yi Ming and Yang Hui, "Dad, Mom, let's go back. This is boring." She really did not want to look at Yi Chen at the moment. How can he be so stubborn at a time like this? He even got a speedboat to pick them up. A loud thud came from the other side of the lake as soon as she was done speaking. Subsequently, a white speedboat drove over quickly from the other side of the lake. "There's really a speedboat here?" Yang Hui looked shocked. She glanced at Yi Chen secretly. Could this villa really belong to him? Lu Feng shook his head and said arrogantly, "It's not here to pick us up. The owner must have found out that we're here, so he's mad." Yang Hui and Yi Ming could not help but get nervous as soon as he said that. Yang Hui glared at Yi Chen coldly. "You've screwed us over. Forget it. I'll try my best to talk to the owner when they get here later." Yi Ming forced a smile. Yi Chen smiled without saying anything. Soon, the speedboat arrived by the lake that they were standing on. An old man in a long robe walked down from it. The old man wore gold-framed glasses and had an extraordinary aura. Could he be the owner of the villa? Just when everyone was having their own thoughts, they saw Li Fu get out of the lake and jog to Yi Chen. As everyone watched with their mouths agape, the old man bowed hard at Yi Chen. He said extremely respectfully, "Mr. Yi, your most loyal butler, Ah Fu, is here." He did not even look at the rest throughout the entire process. At that moment, everyone apart from Yi Chen was dumbstruck. There was dead silence. Yi Chen nodded calmly and stretched his arm to point at Yi Ming, who was next to him. "I'm here to bring some of my relatives here. This is my second uncle, Yi Ming. He's currently the deputy director of the General Affairs Office in the Development Zone." "Nice to meet you, Director Yi. I've always heard that there's an extraordinarily honest and upright office director here, but I've never seen him. Now that I've met him today, I'm sure that he lives up to his reputation." Li Fu smiled at Yi Ming in an extremely polite manner. Yi Ming waved in panic and said while gulping, "El Xiaochen, is 9 Dragons Bay really yours?" He didn't know how to describe his current mood. He had seen the old man in front of him before, but at that time, the old man was very arrogant and had never put him, the deputy director, in his eyes. How could he be as amiable as he was now? Just when Yi Chen was going to speak while smiling, Li Fu spoke first. "Director Yi, 9 Dragons Bay really belongs to Mr. Yi. Brother Leopard gave it to him." Yi Ming felt like the world was spinning as soon as he was done speaking. Yi Ming felt like the world was spinning. Yi Wen's lips opened slightly as disbelief filled her beautiful eyes. Subsequently, she felt a burning sensation on her face. So, he wasn't lying from the beginning. "I can't believe I thought he was pretending." Yang Hui's face turned pale. She could not speak, as if someone was choking her. Among the few of them, Lu Feng was the most exaggerated one. At that moment, he could not stop drooling while cold sweat seeped out of his forehead. "Mr. Yi, the butler, and Brother Leopard gave it to him." Chapter 43. After a moment of silence, Yi Wen wiped her tears and looked at Yi Chen. Yi Wen wiped her tears and looked at Yi Chen. She mocked herself. "Is it fun, Yi Chen?" Yi Chen could not help but frown. He had no idea what she meant. "Since you have such a mansion, why did you ask me to introduce you to our company in the beginning? Why do you have to leave a bad impression on me? Since you're so rich, why did you give me such a birthday gift to humiliate me? Hee, is it fun pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger? Is it fun to tease people who are weaker than you? Since you want to pretend, why don't you do it all at once?" Yi Wen was crying harder as she spoke. Yi Chen said calmly, "I didn't mean that at all. The reason why he joined the company was that he could not reject his second uncle's kindness. Secondly, he wanted to answer to his parent. He had never planned to reveal the villa to the public since the beginning. It was all because of Yang Hui and Lu Feng who kept fanning the flames." "Wen, how can you talk to your cousin like that?" Yi Ming, who was standing aside, scolded his daughter immediately when he saw her talking nonsense. "I'm going to say that I've had enough of you guys." Yi Wen shrieked. She turned around and ran out while covering her mouth. Wen. Yang Hui's expression changed. She glared at Yi Chen as if he had done something unforgivable. Subsequently, she chased after him. Lu Feng seized the opportunity to catch up with her immediately. He did not want to stay there any longer, let alone visit the villa. Yi Chen glanced at the direction where the few of them left and lifted his head to look at Yi Ming next to him. "Second uncle, Xiaochen, you don't have to apologize. You're not in the wrong. I've spoiled Wen since she was young. She's an arrogant person now. Moreover, your second aunt can't stop instilling ideas into her. That's why she hates you." Yi Ming patted his shoulder and said with guilt written all over his face. He then left after shaking his head. Yi Chen stood where he was for a while. He rushed home after getting Li Fu to go back. In the O Residence's villa in Lin City. When O Guoyang got the medical report from the hospital and saw the word HIV on it, he was shaking. He felt like the world was spinning. HIV. Yi Chen was right. He really had HIV. Plop. Zhou Min was paralyzed on the ground. As soon as he saw her, Guoyang suddenly reacted. He walked over and punched and kicked her. Bitch, it's all your fault. Apart from Lan's mother, he had only touched Zhou Min in his life. He had not touched Xin Shuhua since she was mentally ill 3 years ago. The only explanation was that his aids came from Zhou Min. B***tch, tell me the truth. How many people have you slept with besides me? Guoyang's face turned hideous when he thought of this. That was AIDS, it was incurable. Zhou Min screamed and said while shivering, apart from you, I've only slept with young Master Ding Lei? Guoyang was exasperated. Ding Lei was the general manager of the Shenghua Group. He was also the man that Guoyang wanted to marry his daughter to. To his surprise, his woman had an affair with his future son-in-law. Zhou Min sobbed, it's him. Young Master Ding always asked me not to wear a condom and told me to take medicine. I didn't expect it to turn out like this. Slap. Slap. Guoyang slapped her while clenching his teeth. He was so mad that he almost passed out. Zhou Min held her swollen face and said while crying, Guoyang, stop hitting me. Stop hitting me. We still have hope. That adulterer, no, that miracle Dr. Yi must have a way to save us. Miracle Dr. Yi? Guoyang was stunned at first. Subsequently, he recalled Yi Chen. Joy appeared on his face as he said excitedly, that's right. He can save us. He can save us. Before this, not only did Yi Chen know that both of them had AIDS, but he had also cured his wife, Xin Shuhua, of her mental illness. Such a technique was simply unfathomable. However, the hope that he had finally gained was extinguished as soon as he recalled what he had done to Yi Chen. He punched and kicked Zhou Min again. B***tch, it's all your fault. Who told you to call Miracle Dr. Yi an adulterer? Guoyang, Lan and Miracle Dr. Yi are friends, and they're close. As long as you beg Lan, Miracle Dr. Yi will definitely save us for Lan's sake, Zhou Min begged. Guoyang snapped back to his senses. That's right. Miracle Dr. Yi seems to like Lan. As long as I accept him as my son-in-law, he'll definitely save us. That's right, he'll definitely. The next morning, Yi Chen received a call from Gu Shaoquan all of a sudden when he was going to Nine Dragons Bay after sending Meng Meng to school. Mr. Yi, the Lamborghini that I gave you earlier and the company shares have been settled. Do you have time to come over? Company shares? Yi Chen asked by instinct. That's right. Company shares. You should know about Yaffle Cosmetics Company, right? My wife, Fang Yuan, was the director of that company before. She owns 60% of the shares, and they've been transferred to you now. Yi Chen was slightly stunned to hear that. He asked in uncertainty, Are you sure it's Yaffle Cosmetics Company? That's right. I've even gotten them to hold a board meeting. They've confirmed you as the director. Gu Shaoquan repeated. Alright, I got it. I'll go to the company to take a look. Yi Chen hung up the phone after saying that. Subsequently, he looked stunned. Isn't that the company I work for? Isn't it too much of a coincidence? Shaking his head, he hailed a cab and rushed to Yaffle Cosmetics Company, Limited. No matter what, he had to take a look. As soon as he arrived at the company, Yi Chen saw Lu Feng when he was going to the director's office. Lu Feng's expression was rather unnatural. After all, what happened yesterday was still fresh in his mind. He felt his cheeks burning as he thought about it. No, I must find a way to fire this brat. Otherwise, with his ability, he'll threaten me sooner or later. No matter how powerful you are, Yi Chen, as long as you're in this company, I'm stronger than you. There's nothing you can do if I mess with you. Lu Feng smiled proudly as he thought to this point. He called out to Yi Chen immediately, Yi Chen, come here. I have something to tell you. Yi Chen looked at him without moving. What do you mean, Yi Chen? Do you think you can look down on me just because you have a luxurious house? Lu Feng's face turned grim as he threatened, Don't forget that you're still an employee of the company, and I'm your superior. I have the right to make you work for the company. Work for the company? Yi Chen smiled and followed him into the sales department's office with interest. At that moment, everyone was there. They were gloating when they looked at Yi Chen. Yi Wen was the only one who pretended not to see him. Lu Feng said while smiling all of a sudden after Yi Chen sat down, Yi Chen, you've been in the company for a few days now. You should be familiar with the company's business scope. I'm giving you a sales mission now. If you can't complete it, not only will your salary be deducted, but you'll also be fired. What mission? Yi Chen smiled calmly. Finally, you can't take it anymore? Lu Feng turned around and took a document from his desk. He placed it before Yi Chen and said in all seriousness, the company sells cosmetics. Naturally, your mission is to promote cosmetics to premium customers. There are 2 premium customers in this document. Your current mission is to recommend our products to them. Zhao Qian, who was standing aside, could not help but chuckle. Standing aside, Zhao Qian could not help but say while smiling, Yi Chen, everyone in the sales department has a fixed sales performance. We didn't arrange it for you because you're new. Although she said that, she was so happy that she was almost laughing out loud. The reason being that the 2 premium customers that Lu Feng had arranged for Yi Chen were the most difficult, and they had the worst tempers. Everyone in the office had taken turns to be scolded by O Guoyang earlier. Meanwhile, Shen Shuhua was just a mental patient. How was it possible to promote products to a mental patient? Some of the old people in the office secretly shook their heads. Those who were smart knew that Lu Feng was going to make things difficult for Yi Chen and fire him. Yi Chen picked up the document and saw 2 names written on it. They were O Guoyang and Shen Shuhua. At that moment, Yi Chen had a strange expression on his face. Lu Feng thought that he was backing off, so he added immediately, "Don't think that I'm bullying you. These 2 customers are the easiest to communicate with. Don't blame me for being ruthless if you can't complete it." Yi Wen ignored him. She lowered her head and drew a picture with a pen. She was very focused. There was a person walking in the dark in the picture. The person was wearing a clown mask. Yi Chen glanced at Lu Feng wryly. "Are you sure you want me to promote makeup products to these 2 people?" "Of course. Make the call now. You must convince one of them before you get off work," Lu Feng scoffed. Just when he thought that Yi Chen would resign in anger, Yi Chen said while smiling, "It won't take a day. I'll get them in 10 minutes. The entire office was shocked as soon as he said that. Everyone thought they heard it wrong. 10 minutes? Zhang Li snickered out loud. She said in disdain, "Yi Chen, don't you think you're bragging too much?" Zhou Kai and Zhao Qian seemed to have heard something funny. They were laughing so hard that they could not even stand straight. Yi Wen secretly scoffed. "Do you really think that you're so full of yourself just because you have a villa? O Guoyang is the Tianxin Group's director. His value is 10 times higher than yours. That little bit of money you have is nothing to him." Chapter 44. At the Wena Hotel in Lin City. Olan looked at O Guoyang and Zhou Min before her helplessly. Ever since her mother, Shen Shuhua, recovered, they had moved to the hotel. They wanted to draw a line between them and her father. Never had she thought that he would come to them. Shen Shuhua sat aside quietly. There was no emotion in her eyes when she looked at O Guoyang and Zhou Min as if they were strangers. O Guoyang did not mind the mother and daughter's coldness at all. He turned his head and slapped Zhou Min, making her kneel onto the ground. He then looked at the mother and daughter in guilt. "Lon Lon, wifey, I'm sorry. I apologize for what I did earlier. I'm not human. I was blinded by lard." He slapped himself as he spoke and wailed, "But I've gotten the punishment I deserve. I have AIDS. I'll definitely die if I have AIDS." Shen Shuhua sneered. Her own husband messed around with other women and got AIDS in the end. What a big irony. "Dad, do you really have AIDS?" Olan asked, feeling sorry for him. At the same time, she was secretly shocked. Never had she thought that Yi Chen would be right again. O Guoyang forced a smile. "The medical report is out. Dad's blood test is positive. Lon Lon, I know that you're close to Miracle Dr. Yi. Please ask Miracle Dr. Yi to save me. I was wrong. I won't force you to marry Ding Lei anymore. Instead, I'll support you to be with Miracle Dr. Yi. Dad, what are you talking about? Olan's cheeks flushed. She said angrily, Yi Chen and I don't have that kind of relationship. She had no idea that her reaction confirmed O Guoyang's speculation. Just when O Guoyang clenched his teeth and was going to kneel to Olan, Yi Chen picked up his phone and called O Guoyang. On the other hand, Yi Chen picked up his phone and called O Guoyang as Lu Feng urged him impatiently. The countdown starts now. You only have 10 minutes, Lu Feng said wryly as he turned on the stopwatch on his phone. Zhao Qian, Zhang Li, and the rest stared at Yi Chen with their eyes wide open. They were secretly anticipating that he would be rejected and be fired. O Guoyang's phone rang just when he bent down. The veins on his face bulged. He scolded as soon as he picked up the call, Aren't you salesman annoying? I said I don't want it, so I don't want it. If you call me again, I'll sue you for harassment. Now that he had AIDS and because of what had happened to Ding Lei, he was already furious. How could he be in the mood to buy cosmetics? Yi Chen said coldly, I'm Yi Chen. Lu Feng sneered when he heard that. Are you Yi Chen? Why don't you say you're Zhou Ruanfa? I don't care if you're Yi Chen or Wang Chen. I'm not in a good mood, O Guoyang screamed by instinct. He froze halfway through his sentence. He stammered with his eyes wide open, Why you're Miracle Dr. Yi Chen? This was because this voice was just too familiar. Before this, it was like a nightmare to him, but now that he heard it again, it was even better than the sound of nature. Yi Chen responded coldly. Just when he was going to speak, he heard O Guoyang crying through the phone, Miracle Dr. Yi, help, help. I shouldn't have offended you earlier. I hope you can be magnanimous, Yi Chen said while smiling. I'm calling to promote some cosmetics to you. However, judging from your tone earlier, you don't want it anymore. Since that's the case, forget it. As he spoke, he was about to hang up. Wait. Miracle Dr. Yi, wait. O Guoyang panicked when he heard that. Miracle Dr. Yi, I want the cosmetics. I want as many as you have. I want them no matter what price you offer. Yi Chen turned his head to look at the dumbfounded Lu Feng. Oh yeah, how many packaged cosmetics does our Yaffle Cosmetics company have? How much is one set? We don't have any in the company, but we have 50,000 sets in stock at the factory. They haven't been distributed yet. It's 499 yuan per set. Lu Feng gulped and said. He felt like the script had gone awry. Yi Chen gave a short response and said into the phone, Are you sure you want as many as you have? We have 500,000 here. Each set is 499 yuan. His voice fell. The people in the office were so shocked that they almost fell to the ground and cursed out loud. Big brother, it was 50,000 set. How did it become 500,000 sets when it came to you? One had to know that a set of cosmetics alone cost 500 yuan. 500,000 sets would cost 250 million yuan, which was equivalent to the company's annual sales. Moreover, Director O was a man. Even if he bought cosmetics as a gift, it would be great if he could only get dozens of sets, right? Miracle Dr. Yi, I want 500,000 set. I can transfer the full payment to you first, O Guoyang said without even thinking about it. Sure. Yi Chen nodded and asked, Oh yeah, Sister Shun should be next to you, right? Get her to answer the phone. O Guoyang passed the phone to Shin Shuhua, who was next to him immediately, and said weakly, Miracle Dr. Yi is looking for you. Shin Shuhua was elated. She took the phone over and said in extreme gratitude, Miracle Dr. Yi, you don't have to say any more. I want 100,000 sets of cosmetics from your company. I'll pay you in full first. Although she had been insane for 3 years, she had opened a company before that, so she had some savings. Yi Chen hung up before O Guoyang could reply. He turned his head and said to Lu Feng while smiling, all right, one of them is willing to buy 500,000 sets from us while the other is willing to buy 100,000 sets. Moreover, they'll pay in full first. Lu Feng's jaw dropped. Zhao Qian, Zhang Li, Zhou Kai, and Yi Wen who were next to him had their jaws dropped. They could not say a word. It's done just like that? Moreover, it's 600,000 sets that are worth over 100 million? Isn't this business a little too easy? Just when everyone was feeling dizzy, Zhao Qian scoffed all of a sudden. Yi Chen, I can't believe that you're such a person. I can't believe that you hired 2 people to put on a show to trick us so that you won't be fired. The rest snapped back to their senses after hearing what she said. They thought that it was impossible too. Lu Feng looked coldly at Yi Chen immediately and said, Zhao Qian is right. Yi Chen, you've crossed the line. Do you really think we're fools? I suggest Master Lu to call Director O and ask him yourself. If it's proven that Yi Chen really hired someone, fire him immediately, Zhang Li said in a cold tone. Lu Feng nodded immediately and took out his phone. He called the number on the document again. Zhou Kai said in a timely manner, put it on speaker. Let everyone listen and witness someone's face. Lu Feng put it on speaker again. Soon, the call was picked up. Guoyang's voice came from the other end. Who's this? Lu Feng took a deep breath and said carefully while smiling, Hi, Director O. I'm the superior of the person who called to promote the product to you earlier. Our company found out that this employee lied about his performance, so I'm calling to confirm with you. If it's proven that our employee lied, I'll definitely punish him severely. Are you talking about Miracle Dr. Yi Chen? Guoyang asked uncertainly. Lu Feng said while smiling, Director O, you've got it wrong. His name is Yi Chen, but he's not a miracle doctor. He's just a new employee in our company. A new employee? Guoyang said in his deep voice. Lu Feng nodded. That's right. He's a new employee. This person is usually dishonest and likes to cheat. Cheat my *s. Before he was done speaking, Guoyang cursed in the phone directly. Miracle Dr. Yi is my wife's savior. How can your company make him a new employee? Still trying to play tricks? I think you're the one who's cheating, aren't you? You must be jealous of Miracle Dr. Yi's talent, that's why you're slandering him in front of me. That's right. Just now, my wife and I agreed to buy 600,000 sets of cosmetics from your company. However, all the sales can only be credited to Miracle Dr. Yi. All of a sudden, there was dead silence in the office. Everyone was so shocked that their jaws almost dropped to the ground. They thought they were hallucinating. Is this really Guoyang, the CEO of Tianqin Group, a listed company that is one of the top 500 companies in China? He cursed as soon as he opened his mouth. He even fawned over Yi Chen in all sorts of ways. Why did it feel ridiculous? Lu Feng was furious. Just when he was about to say something, Guoyang hung up the phone. At that moment, the office was so quiet that only heavy panting could be heard. Zhao Qian, Zhang Li, Zhou Kai, and the rest stared deadly at Yi Chen. There was shock, fear, and respect in their eyes. Yi Wen felt like she had been slapped in the face again. Moreover, it was a loud slap. Lu Feng panted heavily. His eyes were bloodshot when he looked at Yi Chen. Why does a piece of trash like you have a luxurious mansion that costs a lot of money and knows the CEO of a listed company? Are you a *king monkey who sent you here to punish me? No, I must fire this brat. I must. I don't want to see him for another second. While everyone was silent, Yi Chen lifted his head to look at Lu Feng. A mocking smirk appeared at the corner of his lips. It's been less than 10 minutes. I suppose I've passed the company's mission? Lu Feng's expression could not stop changing. It was as if he was performing a Peking opera. Suddenly, he smirked in an extremely cold manner. Chapter 45. In the entire office, only Yi Wen and Lu Feng knew that Yi Chen owned the Nine Dragons Bay Villa. However, both of them remained silent about it. Yi Chen was shocked to hear that Lu Feng was finally going to fire him. Zhao Qian, Zhang Li, Zhou Kai, and the rest looked at Yi Chen while gloating. They seemed to want to see panic and fear on his face. Yi Chen said expressionlessly, "Why? I don't like you, and the other colleagues don't want to work with you either. Is that a good enough reason?" Lu Feng sneered. He had completely fallen out with Yi Chen. He had made up his mind to kick Yi Chen out of the company so that he would not be a threat to him in the future. Moreover, this was the only way he could take revenge on Yi Chen. "Oh," Yi Chen responded. He looked at him wryly and asked, "Is there such a rule in the company to fire employees? Don't talk to me about rules. You have to remember, the sales department is my territory. My words are the rules. No one dares to disagree with my decisions." Instead of getting angry, Lu Feng laughed. He crossed his arms in front of his chest and looked like he was going to eat him alive. "Moreover, my third uncle is the director of the HR department. What do you think he'll do if I talk to him?" Yi Chen nodded and said while smiling, "So, you're saying that you can fire anyone you want as long as they don't violate the company's management rules." After saying that, he looked up at the others and grinned. "Do you think so too?" Many of them held their heads down and dared not look at him. Although Lu Feng had crossed the line, he was their superior. They could not offend him for Yi Chen. On the other hand, Zhao Qian, Zhang Li, Zhou Kai, and the rest were smirking. They had been waiting for this day for a long time. They were thrilled to see Yi Chen being defeated. Yi Wen opened her mouth but said nothing in the end. She lowered her head and continued drawing. To her, nothing was more important than the person who had saved her that night. At this moment, an unusually serious voice sounded in the company's broadcast. "All department employees, please pay attention. Go to the conference room on the third floor immediately and listen to Chairman Ye's speech. All employees must be present. No one is allowed to be absent." The announcer repeated it 3 times. Zhao Qian could not help but ask, "Young Master Lu, isn't the company's chairman surnamed Feng? Why is your surname Yi again?" Everyone turned to look at Lu Feng. Lu Feng said while smiling, "I bet you guys don't know yet. I heard from my third uncle that the company had a board meeting this morning. We've got a new director with the surname Yi." Zhang Li let out a cry of surprise and said with some worry, "There's really a new chairman. As the saying goes, a new official sweeps the whip. Will it affect our sales department?" She voiced out what everyone was thinking. Every company had its shortcomings, and when the new chairman took office, he would definitely make great efforts to rectify them, such as salary, performance, basic benefits, and even department adjustments. No matter what he did, it would definitely hurt the interests of some people. "Don't worry. My third uncle is already inquiring about Chairman Ye's information. Once we figure out his character and hobbies, it will be easy." Lu Feng smiled confidently and said, "Actually, it's a good thing to have a new director. The original director Feng almost didn't care about him, so we couldn't get in touch with him. Now that Director Yi is here, we might be able to become his right-hand man. Who knows, we might even be promoted. Master Lu, don't forget about us if you're promoted in the future." Zhou Kai was the first to start sucking up to him. Lu Feng smiled proudly. "Don't worry. As long as you guys follow me faithfully, you guys will definitely benefit. Let's go. It'll be terrible if you leave a bad impression on Director Yi if you're late." He was about to leave with his people as he spoke. Zhao Qian glanced at Yi Chen and scoffed. "What should we do with this brat? Should we get the security to chase him out of the company? Let him go to the meeting first. I'll fire him from the HR department when he's back." Lu Feng glanced coldly at Yi Chen and said, "Yi Chen, you're lucky that you get to see the company's new director before you leave." The reason why they were bringing Yi Chen there was that the HR department had yet to tally the information of the employees being fired. Moreover, the announcement earlier requested that nobody should be absent. Yi Chen smiled and said nothing. He rushed out with them and soon arrived at the big meeting room on the third floor of the company. The meeting room was huge. It was approximately 300 square meters in size. There were seats everywhere as far as the eye could see. At the moment, many people were seated in neat attire. Meanwhile, there was a podium at the front of the meeting room. Many of the company's upper echelons were directing people to get things done. Lu Feng led the people to the seats in the middle on the left. Yi Chen felt the urge to pee as soon as he sat down, so he got up and went to the bathroom. Just when he was going to wash his hands, a man in a suit and leather shoes was washing his hands next to him. The man glanced at Yi Chen and seemed to have recalled something. He said excitedly, "Why, you're Director Yi?" "You are?" Yi Chen was slightly stunned. The man wanted to shake Yi Chen's hand by instinct, but he wiped it on his suit immediately when he noticed that his hand was wet. He said excitedly, "Director Yi, I'm the company's general manager, Gao Hong. You can just call me Xiao Gao." Before this, Gao Hong already knew about Yi Chen's information, including his photo. He had been frustrated that he could not see Yi Chen in person. Now that he bumped into him in the bathroom, how could he not be excited and lose his composure? Yi Chen nodded calmly. "You guys have worked hard." No. This is what we should do. It's Director Yi who has worked hard. You've become our company's director at such a young age. It's not an exaggeration to say that you're a genius." Gao Hong said respectfully as if he was on steroids, "Director Yi, the meeting room should be ready. Let me bring you there myself." "There's no need for that. I'll take a look down there." Yi Chen shook his head and smiled. No matter what, this company belonged to him now, so he had to take a good look at it. Gao Hong was a smart man. He knew that the new director was going to observe the company's situation in a low-key manner, so he could only nod. "Sure, I'll invite you to give a speech later." Yi Chen chatted with him for a while before returning to the meeting room. He realized that the entire meeting room was full. Zhang Li, who was next to him, glared at him. "What are you doing, Yi Chen? How can you run around at such an important time? You'll suffer if you drag us into this." "That's right. I'm warning you. Don't you dare cause trouble to take revenge on me just because you're fired," Lu Feng said coldly. Yi Chen smiled and took a good look at the people around him quietly. Zhang Li could only scoff upon seeing him like that. She asked the people around her softly, "Have you guys seen Director Yi?" "No." Zhao Qian shook her head. She mumbled while taking a good look at the entire meeting room. "This Director Yi of ours is really mysterious. Guess what he looks like? How old is he? I'm guessing that Director Yi must be handsome. As for his age, he should be between 40 to 50, Zhang Li said in deep thought. Zhao Qian said while looking infatuated, No. I'm guessing this Director Yi shouldn't be 40. He should look like a domineering president. He's young, handsome, single, and very manly. Go ahead and flirt." Zhang Li rolled her eyes at him angrily and mocked. "Do you think this is an idle drama? A domineering president? Moreover, even if Director Yi is really a domineering president, do you think he'll like you? Don't look down on me, all right?" Zhao Qian looked indignant. She shook the 36D on her chest and said, "I'm someone with money after all. What if Director Yi likes my style?" "All right, stop talking." Lu Feng stopped them immediately. Yi Chen, who was standing aside, was stunned to hear that. He could only secretly shake his head. He had no idea that Zhao Qian happened to see him shaking his head. She thought he was mocking her, so she said angrily, "Yi Chen, what do you mean by shaking your head? Although your surname is also Yi, you and Chairman Yi are like heaven and earth. Even if I get gang-raped, I won't fall for someone like you." As soon as she was done speaking, an extremely serious voice came from the stage. Silence. The people lifted their heads to look. They saw the general manager, Gao Hong, standing on the stage with a microphone in his hand. He stared at them in all seriousness. The entire meeting room fell into silence, and nobody dared to breathe loudly. Gao Hong glanced through the people below the stage expressionlessly and said in his deep voice, I believe everyone knows that our Yaffle company is undergoing a board reform. The original director Fong has retired because of her pregnancy, and the company has a new director, Director Yi. No one below the stage spoke, because everyone had received the news before this. Even so, everyone's breathing quickened because of this. Now that the company is without a leader, we believe that Director Ye's arrival will definitely bring the company to a new level. We all firmly believe that under Chairman Ye's wise leadership, all the employees in the company will have their own fighting spirit and initiative. Gao Hong took 2 steps forward as he spoke to this point. He bowed to the audience below the stage and said respectfully, "Please welcome Director Yi to the stage." At the same time, the rest of the company's upper echelons behind him bowed and said in unison, "Please welcome Director Yi." Their neat and powerful voices echoed through every corner of the meeting room. Coupled with Gao Hong's passionate speech, everyone's mood was lifted. Everyone looked around carefully with their eyes wide open. They were curious about who exactly the company's new director, Director Yi, was. Even Lu Feng, Zhao Qian, Zhang Li, Zhou Kai, Yi Wen, and the rest were no exception. If not for the fact that the higher-ups were watching, they would have stood up since the beginning. Under the watchful eyes of the people, Yi Wen stood up. Chapter 46. As Yi Chen stood up all of a sudden, everyone had their eyes fixed on him. "Yi Chen, why are you standing up? Sit down." Zhang Li pulled Yi Chen immediately. She was so shocked that she almost screamed. "Idiot! Can't you see what's going on? Everyone is waiting for the boss of the company, Director Yi, to show up. You're just a nobody, and yet you're standing up at this moment. Are you trying to make us anger Director Yi and the company's upper management? Are you out of your mind, Yi Chen? Don't drag me along if you want to die." Lu Feng was almost crying out of fear. He would not have brought Yi Chen to the meeting if he had known this would happen. Now, under the watchful eyes of the public, because of you, the entire sales department will be implicated. Zhao Qian, Zhou Kai, and the rest lowered their heads in fear, not daring to look at the leader on the stage. Yuan glared coldly at Yi Chen and could not help but say, "What exactly are you trying to do? Even if Lu Feng wants to fire you, you don't have to take revenge on him, do you?" She was getting more and more disgusted with this cousin of hers. Forget that he liked to pretend, he was so petty. While they were talking, a leader walked over and looked at Lu Feng with a stern expression. "Look at who you've brought with you. Manager Wu, Lu Feng's face turned pale, but he hated Yi Chen to death. Manager Wu waved and interrupted him. He turned his head and scolded Yi Chen, "Who asked you to stand up? Sit down now." "The people on the stage asked me to speak on the stage. How am I supposed to go up if I don't stand up?" Yi Chen rubbed his nose, feeling rather speechless. Manager Wu was almost pissed. After taking a deep breath in, he said while suppressing his anger, "They're calling Director Yi. Is there something wrong with your ears?" "I'm the Director Yi that they're talking about," Yi Chen said in between tears and laughter. Why did everyone think that he was messing around? "You!" Manager Wu was enraged. If not for the fact that there were so many people present, he would have slapped Yi Chen. Director Yi is the boss of the company. His aura and dressing are incomparable to ordinary people. If you're Director Yi, then wouldn't I be the boss of the provincial party committee? Yi Chen smiled and stopped explaining. He walked to the stage directly. It was too late when Manager Wu and Lu Feng wanted to stop him. The crowd gasped. No one had expected that someone would dare to cause trouble at such a time and even take the initiative to walk onto the stage. At that moment, Manager Wu stomped his feet in anger. He looked at Lu Feng ferociously and gnashed his teeth. Lu Feng's face was filled with despair. It's over. A good meeting was ruined by this brat. This time, he would definitely offend Director Yi. At that time, forget about getting promoted, he might not even be able to keep his job. However, what happened next shocked them to their core. Gao Hong, who had been holding his head down, jogged to Yi Chen. He said excitedly and respectfully, "Greetings, Director Yi." At the same time, the other company's upper echelons who were standing behind him greeted him in unison, "Greetings, Director Yi." The audience instantly fell silent. Everyone stared at this scene with their eyes wide open. They were so shocked that their eyeballs almost popped out. "What? He's Director Yi?" Plop. Looking at Yi Chen, who was surrounded by so many bosses, Manager Wu, who was scolding him earlier, fell to the ground directly. He could not stop shaking. "I can't believe I taught the company's director a lesson." Lu Feng rubbed his eyes immediately, thinking that he was hallucinating. Subsequently, his eyes went blank. How is that possible?" Zhao Qian turned pale from the shock, while Zhang Li's mouth was wide open. Zhou Kai looked like he had just seen a ghost and could not stop gulping. Yi Wen, on the other hand, covered her mouth hard in shock. Yi Chen, Director Yi Chen, did not care about the people's reaction. He nodded at Gao Hong while smiling. Gao Hong led Yi Chen onto the stage immediately. He then picked up the microphone and introduced, "I believe everyone can see that the person standing before me is the company's new director, Director Yi. Let's welcome Director Yi's speech with our warmest applause." As soon as he was done speaking, the people below the stage snapped back to their senses. Thunderous applause exploded. They could not stop looking at Yi Chen. Many of the female employees were so infatuated that their eyes almost flew to Yi Chen. Some of the female employees even shrieked, "I can't believe that our Director Yi is so young. He's so handsome when he's serious. He looks so familiar." Many of the male employees scoffed. They thought to themselves, "If you give me the position of director, I'll definitely kill Brother Edison in a second." Although that was the case, it did not stop them from being shocked by Yi Chen's age. He did not look like he was 30 years old, but he had become the director of a company that had annual sales of billions. Among everyone present, Lu Feng, Zhang Li, Zhao Qian, Zhou Kai, and the rest could not bring themselves to laugh. Their thoughts were the most complicated because they had conflicts with Yi Chen. They had even targeted him many times. Zhao Qian's face turned pale because she had mocked Yi Chen and Director Yi earlier. She said that she would rather be gang-raped than let Yi Chen take advantage of her. However, the Yi Chen that she mocked was Director Yi. Lu Feng slid from his seat to the ground. His face was pale while sweat the size of beans could not stop dripping from his forehead. Yi Chen was the so-called Director Yi. However, he wanted to fire the director earlier. Lu Feng felt dizzy as he thought to this point. He felt as if the world was spinning around him. Yi Chen, who was on the stage, pressed his hand down and the place fell into silence. After taking the microphone that Gao Hong passed to him, he glanced at the people below and said while smiling, "You guys must be disappointed to see me, right? I'm guessing the director that you guys have in mind is either a handsome, domineering director or a bald man with a beer belly who shaves his hair when he's over 50. Unfortunately, I'm neither of them." Laughter came from below the stage immediately. They did not expect the new Director Yi to be so humorous. Yi Chen proceeded to speak, "Since I've only been appointed today, there are many things that I don't know about in the company. Therefore, I won't waste my time talking to you guys. I'll announce a few personnel transfers now." The people pricked up their ears as soon as he was done speaking. They were worried that the new director would be fired after all. Yi Chen lifted his head to look below the stage and said in his deep voice, "Who's the HR director?" After a few seconds of silence, a man who was sitting in the front row stood up slowly. It was Lu Kuan. "Director Yi." Lu Kuan called out weakly and almost knelt onto the ground. In reality, he knew that he was in trouble when Yi Chen stepped onto the stage earlier. After all, he had made things difficult for Yi Chen on the first day he was hired. As the HR director of the company, you're in charge of the entry and exit of the company's talents. However, you neglected your duty and abused your power. Therefore, you're fired. Yi Chen nodded and did not give him a chance to speak. Lu Kuan fainted on the spot. Yi Chen did not even look at him and proceeded to speak. "Where's the sales director?" Manager Wu, who was sitting earlier, staggered. As the boss of the sales department, you don't have enough control over your employees. They're just fooling around and waiting to die. What's the difference between that and raising a bunch of useless people? Therefore, you're fired from the company too. The people below the stage did not even dare to breathe loudly. Director Yi had fired the leaders of 2 departments as soon as he was appointed. The fire was burning fiercely. Meanwhile, Lu Feng was shaking harder and harder. Even his third uncle, who was his only support, had been fired. It would be hard for him to escape death. Zhao Qian and the rest clenched their fists tightly and tried their best to keep their heads low. They hoped that Yi Chen would not notice them. Yi Chen paused for a moment and lifted his head to look at where Lu Feng and the rest were. He said while smiling, "Sales Director Lu Feng and employees Zhao Qian, Zhang Li and Zhou Kai, you guys are fired too." Zhao Qian, Zhang Li, and the rest went limp and fell onto the ground directly as if all the energy in their bodies had been sucked out. "What right do you have to do that?" Lu Feng blurted out by instinct. Gao Hong stood up immediately and scolded, "How dare you? How can you talk to the director like that? What right do I have to do that?" Yi Chen waved and said while looking at him while smiling, "That's a great question. Just like how you wanted to fire me earlier, you said that you're the boss of the sales department. Whatever you say is the rule, and nobody dares to say no. I'd like to tell you that I'm the director of the company now. Whatever I say is the rule. If I say I want to fire you, I'll fire you. Who dares to say no? Who dares?" Yi Chen glanced at the few company upper echelons before him as he spoke. All of them held their heads down immediately. Nobody dared to look at him. At that moment, he was like an emperor. The glow on his body was so intense that nobody dared to look at him directly. Lu Feng smiled miserably and glared at Yi Chen, as if he had gone mad all of a sudden. "Yi, I'm not convinced. I want to fight you one-on-one. Come down and fight me one-on-one if you have the balls." One could say that he no longer had the right to be arrogant before Yi Chen. One-on-one? That's a kid's trick. Yi Chen chuckled and looked at him in a condescending manner. He enunciated word for word, "Besides, do you deserve it?" Gao Hong took out his walkie-talkie and said into it immediately, "Someone, chase them out of the company." Subsequently, a few security guards came in and took Lu Feng, Zhao Qian, and the rest away by force. Yi Wen, who was in the crowd, bit her lip and clenched her fists tightly. She looked at Yi Chen in rage and embarrassment. "Why? Why do you always change and slap me in the face every time I think I've seen through you? Did I have a grudge against you in my past life?" She moved her lips and said to Yi Chen angrily while looking at him, "Fire me too. I don't want to work here anymore." "Sure." Yi Chen nodded and turned his head to say to Gao Hong, who was next to him, "Fire her too. Give her 2 months of salary." Yi Wen was exasperated. "I was just saying." Chapter 47. Yi Chen's expression was as calm as still water as he watched Yi Wen run out crying. He had no intention of stopping her at all. He thought he had done enough for Yi Wen. Subsequently, he began inspecting the entire company under the protection of the general manager, Gao Hong, and a bunch of upper echelons. Seeing that it was time to get off work, Yi Chen left the company to pick up Meng Meng. Gao Hong and the rest were relieved as soon as he left. The pressure that Yi Chen exuded was just too great. It was the aura of a superior, giving them the feeling that being with a king was like being with a tiger. Deep in the Shirwan Mountains, the place was shrouded in clouds all year round. It would not be an exaggeration to say that it was a deserted place. A burly middle-aged man with a rough appearance stood under the waterfall with his upper body bare. He was still being battered by the rapid waterfall, but his body did not move at all. If one were to look closer, one would notice that the muscles all over the middle-aged man's body were shaking as if every muscle was breathing. Meanwhile, there was a faint red airflow flowing around his body. "Ha!" The middle-aged man opened his eyes all of a sudden and released a roar. He was like a ferocious beast that had just woken up. Subsequently, he moved and stepped on the waterfall that was falling from the sky. A crisp sound came from his body as soon as he arrived at the top of the waterfall. The middle-aged man was over the moon. Not bad, you've finally unblocked your conception and governor vessels. You've officially stepped into illuminating pulse. You're much more powerful than that useless junior brother of yours. An ethereal and calm voice rang out. The middle-aged man knelt onto the ground immediately. He said in surprise and joy, "Your disciple Gu Fan congratulates Master for mastering the majestic killer fist." Ah! Hysterical laughter came from the air, scaring the birds and beasts around away. Subsequently, an extremely old silhouette walked out of nowhere. The old man's silhouette looked a little hunched. However, Gu Fan, who was kneeling on the ground, felt an invisible pressure coming at him as soon as he appeared. He could still hear the rumbling of the punch echoing in his ears. That was the majestic killer fist. Master had only cultivated it after going into closed-door cultivation for 10 years. Gu Fan was secretly shocked. He buried his head even lower as he had endless respect in his heart. Master would probably shock the world when he came out of closed-door cultivation this time. Did anything major happen in the outside world while I was in seclusion? The old man walked with a hunched back. He walked very slowly, but with every step he took, the stone slabs under his feet would sink into a footprint. Gu Fan calmed himself down and got up to answer, "Master, there's a genius in the ancient martial arts world a few days ago." Genius? The old man made an "oh" sound and continued to walk, as if he didn't care at all. Gu Fan nodded and said, "His name is the Unparalleled Sword. Rumor has it that he's only 18 years old, but he has comprehended sword intent and entered the Tao with the sword." Entering the Tao with the sword? In this age of chaos, there are actually still people who use the sword to enter the Tao? The old man's footsteps stopped, and a wisp of extraordinary splendor flashed in the depths of his muddy eyes. Gu Fan proceeded to speak, "This guy's a lunatic. He's challenged many powerhouses in less than 10 days since he came to the world. He's getting more and more courageous as he fights. He broke through 5 levels consecutively and is known as the Sword Saint. Rumor has it that he's challenged the Sword God, Unquestionable Jian." There was finally a change of expression on the old man's face. Unquestionable Jian? As the saying went, Eastern Superior, Western Overlord, Southern Killer, Northern Devil, Unquestionable Jian. Unquestionable Jian naturally referred to Unquestionable Jian. The man was also a sword cultivator, and his ability was unfathomable. He was known as the Sword God, and even the Southern Killer had no confidence in defeating him. Yes, it's Unquestionable Jian. I heard that this guy doesn't like Unquestionable Jian's title as the Sword God. He even said that only his master deserves to be called the Sword God in this world, so he challenged Unquestionable Jian, Gu Fan said weakly. What an arrogant young man! The old man could not stop smirking and asked again, "How did Unquestionable Jian reply?" Gu Fan's lips moved slightly. The Sword God only replied with 8 words. "Let's fight on the snow mountain in 3 months." Interesting. The Sword Saint doesn't like the Sword God's title, so he challenged him. The Sword God will naturally accept the challenge to protect his pride. I'm looking forward to the Saint God battle. The old man chuckled softly and seemed to have recalled something. He said while frowning, "Oh yeah, where's your junior brother Lin Fan?" Gu Fan's face turned pale, and he knelt onto the ground again. He buried his head on the ground and said in a bitter voice, "Master, junior brother is dead. He was killed by someone. You've been in closed-door cultivation, and my cultivation has reached a bottleneck. That's why it's been delayed until now." The old man coughed twice and said expressionlessly, "Who killed him?" He was not heartbroken over his disciple's death, but he was curious about who dared to kill his disciple. Haha, even those few would not dare to do that, would they? Junior brother was killed by someone called Mr. Yi. This Mr. Yi is very mysterious. I only heard that he's from Lin City. When I was collecting Junior brother's body, I found out that his throat was crushed by a powerful external force. However, there was no energy wave at all. Gu Fan dared not hide anything at all. He told the old man everything that he knew. He killed your junior brother with strength alone? Could this person be a physical expert? The old man frowned and subsequently shook his head. Forget it. Go down the mountain yourself and bring this Mr. Ye's head as a sacrifice to your junior brother. It was just a disciple's death. A person who was like an ant did not know that he would go down the mountain himself. Gu Fan responded right away. At Little Swan Kindergarten, Yi Chen successfully picked up Meng Meng, who came out with her backpack. Just when he was going home after kissing her, a voice came from behind, "Mr. Yi, wait up." When he turned his head to look, he saw Lan in a white dress chasing after him quickly. She said while panting, "Mr. Yi, why are you hiding from me?" "No," Yi Chen said while smiling. "Of course not. Auntie Lan has been sending Meng Meng to school for the past few days." Lan rolled her eyes at him angrily. She was filled with resentment. She was considered a beauty, right? She would attract countless men's invasive stares no matter where she went. However, it did not work before Yi Chen. Yi Chen smiled and said nothing. Lan paused and suddenly bowed to Yi Chen. She said softly, "Mr. Yi, thank you. Thank you for saving my mother." "You don't have to do that, Ms. O. I saved Sister Shin to thank you for taking care of Meng Meng. Moreover, Sister Shin paid me after that," Yi Chen said in between tears and laughter. "Sister Shin?" Lan was speechless. "Bastard, are you trying to take advantage of me? Since you're calling my mother Sister Shin, should I call you Uncle Yi? We're less than 5 years apart in age." She was so angry that she gritted her teeth and said, "Mr. Yi, can you help my dad?" Guoyang had begged her countless times before coming. He even knelt to his daughter. His goal was to get her to ask Yi Chen to treat him. "Ms. O, I know what you're trying to say." Yi Chen interrupted her immediately. "If he's a man, he should have begged me himself. What's so great about using a woman to get sympathy? Moreover, I look down on a piece of trash who abandoned his wife and daughter for benefits and lust." He picked up Meng Meng and turned around to leave after saying that. Chapter 48. Yi Chen could not help but chuckle as he looked at the little girl's cunning eyes. "Why would Daddy like your teacher O? Don't talk nonsense." "Then, does our teacher O like you, Daddy?" The little girl tilted her head and asked while deep in thought. Yi Chen patted the 2 braids on her head and said angrily, "No, I was just wondering why a kid like you would say that you like her." "But I'm not a kid." The little girl pouted. "Pai Yang from our class likes Wang Tiantian, who sits next to him. He even wrote a love letter to her." "Really?" Yi Chen was dumbstruck. "Speaking of which, are all the kids these days so mature so early? They already know how to write love letters to each other when they're only 4 or 5 years old." The little girl nodded and said, "A classmate got Pai Yang's love letter back then. The classmate even read it in front of the whole class." The little girl struggled out of Yi Chen's embrace as she spoke to this point. She placed her hands on her waist and made a speech. She said in all seriousness, "Pai Yang wrote this. Wang Tiantian, I like you. I hope that you can be my girlfriend and move to my house. If that's the case, my parents won't treat me like a kid. They won't beat me if I wet the bed, and I won't have to go to school and sleep in every day. But let's make this clear. If you become my girlfriend, you can't snatch the half-pack of Little Raccoon crispy noodle snacks that I've hidden under my bed." Yi Chen was speechless. Apart from being impressed, he had no idea how to describe it. This little girl named Pai Yang should change her name to Qing Duxiu. Her nickname is Xiao. The little girl suddenly buried her head and called out weakly, "Daddy, what's wrong?" Yi Chen was going to hug her. The little girl took a step back and lifted her head to look at Yi Chen with tears in her eyes. "Daddy, don't abandon me, all right?" No, my dear daughter, what are you talking about? Why would Daddy not want you? Yi Chen was confused by her sudden tears. The little girl's tears fell like pearls from a broken necklace. If Daddy has a new woman, he will have other children with her. In that case, Meng Meng will be a poor child without parents. Moreover, stepmother will not like Meng Meng. Our neighbor, Xiao Hao's father, has found a new woman. Xiao Hao is beaten by stepmother every day, and stepmother doesn't give Xiao Hao any food. Yi Chen found it funny and infuriating at the same time after hearing that. After all this time, it turned out that this girl was jealous. She was worried that she would fall out of favor after he had another woman. Yi Chen stretched his arm and wiped the little girl's tears away. He said while smiling, "Silly girl, I won't abandon you. I won't look for another woman either. I only love your mother in this world." Really? The little fellow immediately stopped crying. Yi Chen said with a straight face, "It's fake. I'll get you a stepmother tomorrow, and give you a brother the day after tomorrow. I'll get him to beat you up when he grows up." "Daddy, you're so naughty." The little girl snickered and jumped into Yi Chen's embrace. She could not stop pulling the stubble on his chin. Yi Chen carried her and walked home. "Daddy, when will I see Mommy? I can't wait." "Soon." "Will Mommy be bullied by those bad guys?" "How dare they? If Mommy is bullied, I'll beat them all to death." "That's right. I'll beat those bad guys to death. I'll beat them up with Daddy. How dare they bully Mommy?" The little girl was giggling along the way. She seemed to have forgotten who was crying earlier. When the duo arrived home, they saw a black puppy lying in a pool of blood by the road. It could not stop twitching, but the passers-by did not seem to see that. The little girl struggled out of Yi Chen's embrace immediately and ran to the black puppy. She squatted down and said with a bitter expression, "Daddy, this puppy is so pitiful." Yi Chen looked at it and saw that the black puppy was dirty. It was so skinny that it was just skin and bones. It seemed like a stray dog that had been run over by a car. The little girl stretched her arm and could not stop rubbing the black puppy's ears. She said while blowing at it, "Daddy, is it dying? Can you save it?" The little girl's beautiful eyes were tearing up as she spoke. She looked like she was going to cry. Yi Chen shook his head helplessly. He could only place his hand on the black puppy and secretly transfer some spiritual power into its body. The injury on the black puppy's stomach was healing at a speed that could be seen with the naked eye. It eventually recovered to its original state. The little girl could not close her mouth from watching that. Her eyes were filled with little stars. "Daddy, you're amazing. The puppy is healed." Yi Chen forced a smile. Only he would do something so stupid to waste his spiritual power on a dog. However, it was his daughter who asked him to do it. The black puppy was going to run after standing up. The little girl hugged it and turned her head to beg, "Daddy, can we adopt this puppy?" Upon hearing that, the black puppy in her embrace struggled even harder. However, it was too small. Coupled with the fact that she was using too much strength, it rolled its eyes. Yi Chen hesitated when he met the little girl's gaze. He nodded after confirming that it was a stray dog. "Sure. Daddy, I know that you're the best." The little girl went over and kissed him on the cheek immediately. She then said to the black puppy in her embrace, "Puppy, come home with me. I'll take good care of you. I'll call you Cutie from now on." "Cutie," the black puppy snorted twice immediately. Nobody knew if it was because it was being strangled or because it understood what she said. The father and daughter brought a dog that they had picked up home. The little girl went to bathe Cutie with excitement on her face as soon as they entered the house. Wu Lan and Yi Hai could only accept the addition of a family member helplessly. They then went to the pet shop nearby to buy some dog food. The family only went to bed when it was late at night. Yi Chen closed his eyes and meditated with his legs crossed in his room. He had no idea how long had passed when his ears twitched all of a sudden. He looked at the living room as if he sensed something. At the same time, his divine consciousness shot into the living room through the door. Subsequently, shock flashed through his face. He saw a black puppy walk out of the kennel in the bathroom. On top of that, it was walking on tiptoe. That was right. It was walking on tiptoe, just like a human. Its front legs were hanging in the air while its back legs were on the ground. It walked to the window while shaking its butt in a flirtatious manner. Its tail was raised high, like a thief who had just broken into a house to steal something. It would stop every few steps and listen to the surroundings with its ears perked up. Its eyes would glance at the room that Yi Chen was in from time to time. Soon, it arrived at the window. Then, its body shrunk all of a sudden and it crawled out of the anti-theft window that was as wide as a finger. A strange smirk appeared at the corner of Yi Chen's lips when he saw that. Chapter 49. On the mountain behind the Jinyang district. A black puppy stood at the top of the mountain while looking at the moon in the sky with its tail drooping. It growled softly with a human-like expression on its face. Ha ha! I, the Patriarch of Hell, have finally escaped. He, the Patriarch of Hell, was a tribulation transcendence cultivator in the cultivation world. Which girl wouldn't tremble at the mention of his name? In the end, when he was transcending his tribulation and ascending, in order to bring his 3,000 beautiful wives and concubines along with him, he simply cultivated the 3,000 imperial women Tao. On the day of the tribulation ascension, he transformed into 3,000 people in front of all the almighties in the cultivation world and had a live show with his 3,000 beautiful wives and concubines. Eventually, the 99 heavenly tribulations were triggered. However, the Patriarch did not seem to last long. He almost died after enduring 3 heavenly tribulations. The black puppy growled again. God, forget that you made me fail the tribulation ascension, but you gave me the chance to become an itinerant immortal. In the end, your 3 lightning strikes almost destroyed my soul. Only a sliver of my remnant managed to escape, and it was dragged into the space crack. Poor my 3,000 beautiful wives and concubines. All right, I'll take it even if that's the case. But you should have given me a good cauldron to take over, but you made me come to this rubbish world that lacks spiritual energy. I've been searching for people in this world with all my spiritual energy. I've been searching for 3 days, but I did not see a mortal with a spiritual root. Just when I attached myself to a dog, a car came crashing over. I feel so wronged. The black puppy was in tears. However, none of that mattered. What mattered was that he, the Patriarch of Hell, was called Cutie. Your whole family is Cutie. Do I not care about my reputation anymore? How am I going to pick up girls if people find out about this when I return to the cultivation world? If the Patriarch had not found out that Yi Chen was a cultivator when he was treating his injuries, he would have flipped out. Although that brat's cultivation base isn't high, he's the first cultivator I've seen in this sh*tty world. Fortunately, I'm smart enough to sneak out while they're asleep. Otherwise, if that kid were to discover my identity one day, it wouldn't be good if I were to be stewed into a pot of dog meat to nourish my body. Humph, although I'm not a good person, I know how to repay favors. Since you saved my life, I'll let you off the hook for calling me Buttface, Suke said coldly. At the thought of this, the black puppy was about to leave. However, when it turned around, it suddenly realized that someone had appeared behind it. It was Yi Chen. Yi Chen looked at it wryly and said, "Cutie, where are you going?" The black puppy's fur immediately stood up, and it immediately wagged its tail like a pug trying to curry favor. F***ck, I don't care about my face anymore. Should I call you Patriarch Yellow Spring? Or Buttface? A smirk of mockery appeared at the corner of Yi Chen's lips. He had been tailing the man, so he had heard the man's roar clearly. Unfortunately, coincidentally, he understood the language of beasts. The black puppy took a few steps back with a whoosh, its heart filled with horror. How did this brat understand me? He even discovered my identity. A ferocious gleam appeared in the black puppy's eyes as it thought to this point. It lifted its front legs and placed them on its waist. It stood like a human and spoke while shaking its legs. You're quite capable, little cultivator. That's right. I'm the famous patriarch Yellow Spring in the cultivation world. I'm a tribulation almighty. If you know what's good for you, kneel before me now. I might let you go if I'm in a good mood. It thought Yi Chen would definitely fall to the ground in fear after hearing the words Tribulation Almighty. After all, Tribulation Almighty was the pinnacle powerhouse in the cultivation world. They were just one step away from ascending. However, there was no expression on Yi Chen's face. The patriarch Yellow Spring was pissed, so he added, "Did you hear me? I'm a Tribulation Almighty. Tribulation Almighty." So? Yi Chen said expressionlessly. Do you know what Tribulation Almighty means? You're not even at the foundation establishment stage yet. I can easily destroy your soul with a fart. Patriarch Yellow Spring was furious. Damn it. Can't you give me some face? Yi Chen said while smiling. Why don't you try farting? The patriarch Yellow Spring was speechless. Subsequently, it roared and its body grew a few times bigger. It was as strong as a calf and charged at Yi Chen at high speed. Damn it, is the patriarch Yellow Spring shameless? Tribulation Almighty, am I right? Yi Chen chuckled softly and stretched his arm to grab it. He grabbed its neck directly and lifted it up. Please spare me, master. Oh no, cutie, no, my mistake. The patriarch Yellow Spring begged directly. Cutie is willing to surrender. Cutie is willing to surrender. I don't want to lose face this time. Yi Chen shook his head and said, I don't need you to surrender. I just want to eat dog meat. I'll kill you, pluck your fur, open your stomach, and rinse it in boiling water. Then, I'll cut you into meat slices. Pour some oil into the wok, and pour the meat slices into it. Then, I'll sprinkle ginger, onion, and garlic on it and keep stir-frying. Gulp! Patriarch Yellow Spring swallowed his saliva. He was a little hungry after hearing Su Kei's words. He licked his face hastily and said, Master, my flesh is not delicious. I can be used for many purposes, such as guarding the house, closing the door and letting the dogs out. Also, your daughter has taken me as her pet. If you eat me, she will be unhappy. Yi Chen nodded subconsciously. That seemed to make sense. Hand over the soul blood, Yi Chen said calmly. The patriarch Yellow Spring hesitated and said, can you agree to 2 of my conditions? I suddenly want to eat dog meat again. No, I'll hand it over right away. The patriarch Yellow Spring shuddered. He opened his mouth and spat. A red object that looked like an earthworm landed in Yi Chen's hand. Yi Chen then nodded in satisfaction. The patriarch Yellow Spring looked like he wanted to cry. I have a small request. Can you find me a good cauldron for me to possess in the future? It did not want to be a dog anymore. He was threatened with eating dog meat at every turn. Yi Chen nodded, sure. The patriarch Yellow Spring hesitated for a moment. He rubbed his claws and smiled wretchedly. Can you find me another woman? If that's not possible, bring me to the brothel in this lousy world first. I've been holding back for a long time. It feels terrible without a woman. Yi Chen looked at its body and the key parts that were covered by its tail. He could not help but ask, Are you looking for a woman? Chapter 50. Cultivating to be an immortal was just to pick up girls? Yi Chen's eyes froze. He was completely defeated by that reason. He asked coldly, Are you really a tribulation stage cultivator? Anyone who could cultivate to this stage would have a firm Tao heart and a pure heart. If they had any distracting thoughts, it would be difficult for them to continue. They might even go berserk. Master, you have no idea. Before I stepped onto the path of cultivation, I was a tortoise, a pimp in some brothel. The patriarch of Yellow Spring wagged his tail awkwardly. I've seen all kinds of erotic scenes in brothels. Then, I slowly figured out some great ways in this regard and created the 3,000 Imperial Women Tao. As long as I have sex with women, my cultivation base will increase. That's right. Although he said that, the patriarch was furious. You know the most embarrassing thing about me. Just you wait. When I recover my cultivation base, I want you to be my follower. Plucking? Yi Chen frowned slightly. Plucking was also known as plucking yin to nourish yang, or plucking yang to nourish yin. It was an evil technique to nourish oneself by absorbing other people's cultivation base and blood essence. Patriarch Yellow Spring seemed to have guessed what was on Buttface's mind, and he hurriedly explained, Master, I'm not plucking. My cultivation method won't cause any harm to the women. Instead, it will strengthen their physique. This is also the reason why when I ascended, I wanted to ascend with 3,000 beauties. 3,000 beauties in his harem? Yi Chen's expression turned grim. He stopped asking and extended his arm to point between the Patriarch's brows. The Patriarch of Hell panicked. He thought that Yi Chen was going to kill him and make him into a hot pot. Just when he was going to resist, Yi Chen's voice came into his head. Don't resist. This is the memory about Earth. The Patriarch was secretly shocked. This brat has not even reached foundation building, but he knows the mind transfer method and divine consciousness voice transmission. *T. Why am I so unlucky to actually encounter such a monster? When will I be able to turn the situation around like a peasant and sing a song? Not long after, the Patriarch felt a lot of memories appear in his mind. They were all related to Earth, such as cars, televisions, airplanes, tanks, cannons, the Republic, blacks and whites, and so on. Elder Hell immediately exclaimed, Good heavens! The missiles in your world can actually locate the target, just like the flying swords of the cultivators. Also, the so-called atomic bomb is almost as powerful as a punch from a soul transformation stage cultivator, isn't it? I've never tried. Yi Chen shook his head. Patriarch Yellow Spring laughed and said, Well, Master, I learned from my memory that your country is at odds with a country called the Fu Sang Nation. Why don't I go to the Fu Sang Nation after I recover my cultivation? I will kill all the men there and take the women into my harem. Also, brothels are actually called nightclubs or bathing centers in this world of yours. Prostitutes are also divided into so many levels. Young models, coquettish female celebrities. No, I have to experience what it's like to be a young model. To quote a popular phrase on the internet in your world, the winner will be a young model, and the loser will be forced to work in the sea. Patriarch Yellow Spring laughed lecherously while spittle flew everywhere. It was as if he had discovered a new continent. Enough. Yi Chen frowned when he heard that and interrupted. The reason why I didn't kill you is that I want you to work for me. From now on, you must protect my daughter 24 hours a day. If she loses even a strand of hair, I'll break your bones, eat your flesh, extract your soul, and refine your soul. At the same time, a chilling killing intent exploded from his body. Yes. I'll definitely protect the little master. The Patriarch Yellow Spring shuddered and nodded continuously. Good heavens! This brat's cultivation base isn't high, but why is his killing intent stronger than mine? He's like a devil. Could it be that he came from another cultivation world just like me? He was lucky enough to possess this body, and now he has a wife and daughter? Although that was what he was thinking, the Patriarch Yellow Spring dared not show it at all. He wagged his tail and said miserably, Master, I'm only on beginner stage spirit assembly now. I can only perform tricks like illusions. You must find me a woman so that I can recover my cultivation base. Otherwise, someone will kill me with a single shot. Follow me. Yi Chen scoffed and went down the mountain with it. He hailed a cab by the side of the road and headed straight to the biggest nightclub in Lin City. They were stopped by the security guards when they arrived at the entrance. The reason being Yi Chen had a dog with him. Yi Chen could only give Lin Tai a call. Lin Tai arrived soon and welcomed the man and the dog in. The Patriarch looked around the nightclub while wagging his tail. Lin Tai said respectfully after bringing the man and dog to a private room, My lord. Find me a woman. Yi Chen said with an unnatural expression. Lin Tai was stunned. Find you a woman? He remembered that Yi Chun had a daughter. Yi Chun just realized that he had said something inappropriate. He looked at the patriarch Yellow Spring, who was squatting under his feet immediately, and said, Find it a woman. Lin Tai looked at the black puppy under his feet and was stunned again. He asked in disbelief, A woman or a female dog? As soon as he finished speaking, the black puppy began barking at him immediately. F*CKU. Find me a female dog? Do you believe that I'll bite you to death? Alright, go now. Also, don't let anyone in without my order, Yi Chun waved and said. He did not bother to explain. Lin Tai could only stop asking. He suppressed his doubts and left. As soon as he left, the patriarch Yellow Spring said immediately, Master, Cutie forgot to tell you to get your little brother to find a woman with a perky butt and a big chest. Shut up. I'm curious about how you're going to deal with the woman after she comes. Yi Chun resisted the urge to slap him to death. Only he would bring a dog to a spa. However, it was unfortunate that he had encountered a weirdo like the patriarch Yellow Spring. The patriarch Yellow Spring smiled mysteriously. You don't have to worry about that. I have my ways. Yi Chun shook his head and walked out of the room. He stood at the corridor across and watched quietly. Soon, he saw a lady who was dressed extremely flirtatiously knock on the door and walk in. Then, the door was closed. Yi Chun controlled his divine consciousness to go in and take a look by instinct. He realized that there was a barrier around the room that could stop his divine consciousness from invading. Clearly, it was set up by the patriarch Yellow Spring. The barrier was not powerful, so it was easy to break it. Yi Chun hesitated for a while and decided not to break it. He was mainly worried that he would see something disgusting later. He began looking around the nightclub after withdrawing his divine consciousness. The nightclub was huge and there were many people. Under the dim yellow light, the faces were distorted, crazy, and rotten. Chapter 51. It was a middle-aged man with a band-aid on his face. The man limped as he was being pushed around in the crowd. He would even bend down to apologize to people from time to time. Yi Chun walked down immediately after seeing the man's face. He called out by instinct, "De Tianer?" The middle-aged man turned his head to look at Yi Chun immediately. His body shook slightly as he turned around and ran to the entrance of the nightclub without saying anything. Yi Chun chased after him immediately and grabbed him by the side of the road. He said coldly, "Yang Tian, why did you run when you saw me?" The middle-aged man's body froze. He only turned around after a few seconds of silence, revealing a dispirited face. He looked bitter. "Xiao Yezi, I'm no longer the Yang Tian I used to be. Why do you still remember me? Why?" At such a close distance, Yi Chun realized that he had changed a lot. He looked dispirited, his hair was messy, and he had stubble. There were a couple of band-aids on his face, and a part of his brow bone was broken as if it had been broken. He looked lethargic. The man before him was called Yang Tian. He used to be Yi Chun's classmate and best friend in university. Back then, the Young and Dangerous series was very popular. Yang Tian liked the character De Tianer very much, so he gave himself that name. The duo stayed in the same hostel during their university days. They talked about everything. One was rational and weak, while the other was straightforward and hot-tempered. Yi Chun remembered clearly that he and Yang Tian had gone to the internet cafe to play dungeons when he was in his third year of university. He had gotten into a conflict with the gangsters at the cafe and was beaten up. The cafe owner did not even dare to call the police due to the gangsters' background, let alone stop them. Yang Tian, who had just returned from the washroom, saw that Yi Chun was being bullied. He picked up a fruit knife from the counter at the internet cafe and charged into the crowd without saying anything. He injured 3 people directly and even asked Yi Chun to leave first while he stayed behind. Yang Tian was taken revenge after that. One of his fingers was chopped off to save his life. Yi Chun felt guilty for a long time because of that. The duo went their separate ways after graduation. Although that was the case, they kept in touch. They only lost contact when Yi Chen was drowned in the river. It had been so many years since then. Never had he thought that he would bump into Yang Tian here. Furthermore, Yang Tian ran away as soon as he saw him. Yi Chen took a deep breath in as he thought to this point. He looked at him and said word by word, "Because you're my brother." Yang Tian's voice came to a halt as he looked at Yi Chen blankly. His eyes turned red instantly, and the hunk burst into tears on the spot. "Little Yi Zi, I don't deserve to be your brother. I really don't deserve it." Yi Chen patted his shoulder. "You're wrong. No matter what happens, you'll always be my brother. Now, tell me, what exactly have you been through all these years? How did it become like this?" He almost roared the words out. Yang Tian's current state was too disappointing. He, who once claimed to be the most handsome man in the class, had now become a destitute uncle. He, who once had a finger chopped off because of him, was still talking cheerfully and wittily. Now, he was crying like a child. Yang Tian squatted on the ground and covered his face with his hands as he cried. Yi Chen punched him in the face out of anger. He said in disappointment, "Useless coward. What else can you do apart from crying? Come on, coward. Hit me. Can't you be a man?" Yang Tian rolled on the ground directly from the punch. There was blood at the corner of his lips. As if he was triggered, he suddenly shrieked hysterically. He got up and threw a punch at Yi Chen while clenching his fist. Bang! Yi Chen did not dodge. Instead, he chose to take the punch head-on. After Yang Tian was done with the punch, he rolled on the ground with another punch. He charged forward and punched Yang Tian's face again and again. He did not use any of his cultivation base. Not long after, the two of them were fighting on the ground. An uncle who was passing by took out his phone to call the police when he saw that. Yang Tian, who was pinned under Yi Chen, screamed ferociously, "Get lost! Young fellas, can't you guys talk things out? Do you really have to fight?" The uncle sighed and persuaded them out of kindness. "Get lost. Which one of your eyes saw us fighting? We're catching up. Shut up if you don't know anything. I'll beat you to death if you don't get lost." Yang Tian could not stop cursing as he wiped the blood off his face. The corner of the uncle's mouth twitched. Was this how they reminisced? He was bleeding. However, he seemed to be frightened and ran away. As he ran, he called the police. "Hello, is this a demon? There are two young people here." Hearing this, Yi Chen and Yang Tian looked at each other and subsequently laughed out loud. The two of them were fighting to the death earlier, but they were sitting on the ground with their arms around each other's shoulders in the blink of an eye. Yang Tian took out a pack of cigarettes and passed one to Yi Chen. As the smoke lingered, his voice was extremely hoarse. "Xiao Yezi, thank you for remembering your brother. Don't give me that. Tell me, what did you suffer? Where's sister-in-law?" Yi Chen took a puff of his cigarette and asked while looking at him. Yang Tian, who claimed to be a playboy, got married as soon as he graduated. Yi Chen even attended his wedding back then. The bride was a graceful and elegant lady. Yang Tian's face stiffened. He lowered his head and said expressionlessly, "Dead? Who killed her?" Yi Chen's hand that was holding the cigarette shook slightly as he asked while squinting. He did not even ask how she died. If Yang Tian's wife had died of natural causes, he would not be so dispirited. Yang Tian clenched his fists tightly and turned his face away. "She died in a car accident." "Car accident?" Yi Chen chuckled. "Do you dare to look at me and say that? Do you dare to say that again in front of sister-in-law's memorial tablet?" Yang Tian held his head with both of his hands and said in pain, "Xiao Yezi, can you not force me? Really, don't force me." His reaction confirmed Yi Chen's speculation. He could not help but scoff. "If you still have a little bit of courage in you, tell me the truth. Even if the sky falls, I'll be here for you." Yang Tian got up and glared at him in rage. His eyes were bloodshot. Why do you have to force me? Knowing the truth will only bring you disaster. I'm already miserable enough. I don't want to drag you down. We can't afford to offend that person. Ha ha! Yi Chen tossed the cigarette butt away. He got up and looked into Yang Tian's eyes coldly. He grinned. There's no one in this world that I, Yi Chen, can't afford to offend. If you want to continue being dispirited and living in pain, then stop talking. Of course, that's the end of our relationship. Yi Chen turned around and left as soon as he was done speaking. Yi Chen turned around and left without hesitation. He only heard Yang Tian's voice after walking for over 10 meters. Chapter 52. Yi Chen turned around and walked over. He asked while looking at him, "Was it the Ding family who killed your wife?" To be exact, it was Ding Lei from the Ding family. Yang Tian forced a smile and lit a cigarette. He began talking about his experiences throughout the years. It turned out that Yang Tian worked in a small company after graduating from university. He was promoted to a management position in less than 2 years. He had some money and was unrestrained, so he often visited places like nightclubs. There was once when he saw a female singer being bullied by a drunk customer in a bar. At that time, no one dared to stop her. Yang Tian hated incidents where women were bullied the most. In addition to the fact that he was a little drunk, he rushed up the stage and hit the other party. He then ran away with the female singer in public. Due to the hero saving the damsel in distress, they got married less than 3 months after they fell in love. Along with the sweetness, the nightmare came naturally. Yang Tian found out that the person he beat up at the bar was the second young master of the Ding family, Ding Lei. To avoid revenge, Yang Tian ran around with his wife. After escaping for 3 years, the couple thought that they were safe. Moreover, they had a child, so they could only live incognito. In the end, when Yang Tian was on his way home from work, he saw himself being run over by a truck. The truck then ran over his wife's corpse several times. Ding Lei even bragged about it to him. Yang Tian wanted to kill him by instinct, but he could not bear to let his son go. All he could do was live in humiliation. Fate always played tricks on people. Yang Tian's son was diagnosed with congenital heart disease when he was just 3 years old. The only way to cure him was to spend 800,000 yuan on a heart transplant. Naturally, Yang Tian could not get help from anyone. However, Ding Lei came to him and asked Yang Tian to be a fighter at his underground boxing ring. He promised to pay 10,000 yuan for each fight. Naturally, he wanted to torture Yang Tian. Yang Tian knew that, but he agreed to be a fighter at Ding Lei's underground boxing ring for the sake of his son's surgery fee. Ding Lei's so-called fighter was actually a sparring partner. Yang Tian could not fight back and had to let his opponent hit him. Yang Tian had been on the brink of death many times, holding on with his will. Fortunately, he had earned 200,000 yuan. Together with his savings, he was left with over 300,000 yuan. He would be able to get 800,000 yuan for his son's surgery. After saying this, Yang Tian's whole body trembled. He took a deep breath of his cigarette and laughed at himself. Little Yezi, do you think someone like me, who has given up my dignity and acknowledged the enemy as my father, is worthy of being your brother? Is this the reason why your leg is crippled and your brow bone is broken? Yi Chen took a deep breath in as the killing intent within him grew. The Ding clan was very good. Yang Tian nodded painfully. How could I not know that Ding Lei was torturing me? But what could I do? Are you going to give up your son's life for that so-called dignity? 800,000 yuan. Have you ever thought of borrowing it from someone else? Yi Chen frowned. Yang Tian chuckled. Borrow? Borrow from whom? Don't you know that money can turn brothers against each other these days? In the past, the relatives who talked about family all hid far away when they saw me, as if they had seen a ghost. You don't have to be a boxer in the future. I can cure your nephew's illness. There's no need for a heart transplant at all. Yi Chen patted his shoulder and enunciated word for word while looking at him, As for the underground boxing arena that you mentioned, it's the Ding family's property, and it'll only be held 3 days later, right? Alright, 3 days later, let me take your place and fight the last match. Let me, your brother, help you regain your dignity and use your blood as a sacrifice to sister-in-law's soul in heaven. His voice fell. Yang Tian stared blankly at Yi Chen. Only now did he realize that this brother of his had changed. He had become somewhat unfamiliar. There was an indescribable aura around him, but he couldn't put his finger on it. I know it's hard for you to believe me, but what I want to say is that I've had some fortuitous encounters over the years. I've learned some martial arts and medical skills from an otherworldly master. Yi Chen smiled when he met Yang Tian's gaze. Subsequently, he lifted his foot and stomped softly. A 5-inch deep footprint appeared on the ground. Yang Tian sucked in a breath of cold air, his face filled with shock. Brother, you really have a way to cure my son's illness? He stomped on the ground with one foot. Was that something that a human could do? Seeing that he still didn't believe him, Yi Chen pressed his hand on his lame left leg and inserted spiritual power into it. Yang Tian felt a warm and numb sensation in his left leg. Subsequently, it was no longer painful. Over 10 minutes later, Yi Chen retracted his hand and said while smiling, "All right, why don't you try walking 2 steps now?" Yang Tian glanced at him and took 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps. Eventually, he laughed out loud. "My leg is healed. Xiao Yezi, you're amazing. You finally believe me now, don't you?" Yi Chen said while smiling. Yang Tian grabbed him and was extremely excited. "Of course I believe you. Why wouldn't I believe you? Even if you tell me that you're the reincarnation of a god, I'll believe you. Let's go to my house. Wait, I have to pick someone up. No, I have to pick up a dog." Yi Chen shook his head and returned to the nightclub with Yang Tian. The door to the room where the Patriarch of Hell was at happened to be opened. A seductively dressed lady walked out with a satisfied look on her face. She was even staggering, and her legs seemed to be a little weak. The lady leaned into Yi Chen's embrace as soon as she saw him. She said with seductive eyes, "Boss, your twin brother is so powerful. Remember to pay me more." "Twin brother?" Yi Chen frowned and walked into the room after sending her away. He saw the black dog, the Patriarch of Hell, lying on the couch with both of his furry legs on the coffee table. He had a cigarette in his mouth, while shaking his ears in satisfaction. Yang Tian, who was following behind him, exclaimed by instinct when he saw that, "Xiao Yezi, this dog is yours? Damn it, look at his movements and expression. He looks like a human. Is he a demon?" The Patriarch of Hell glanced at him in disdain. "Haha, what a stupid mortal. Since I'm in a good mood, I won't argue with you. Well trained, well trained." That was the only explanation Yi Chen could give. At the same time, he sent a voice transmission to the Patriarch through divine consciousness. "Are you done?" The Patriarch of Hell did not care about Yang Tian's surprised gaze at all. He shook his ears and said in a showy manner, "Master, it's fine even if you came an hour later. I can still fight." "How much of your cultivation base has you recovered?" Yi Chen asked curiously. As the Patriarch of Hell was in a dog's body, it was difficult to see through his cultivation base. The Patriarch of Hell rolled his eyes and said while smiling, "If you give me another 300 young models, I should be able to break through to intermediate stage, spirit assembly." In reality, the Patriarch was a little guilty. The reason being his primordial spirit had actually left his body when he was cultivating with the lady earlier. The Patriarch thought that he was ugly, so he simply transformed into Yi Chen. Subsequently, Chapter 53. Yang Tian's house was very simple. It was a house that was less than 50 square meters. Not only was the house dim, but it also seemed rather humid. As soon as Yi Chen entered, he smelled a pungent smell. One could tell how unhappy Yang Tian had been in the past few years. His son was a dignified little boy who had just turned 3 years old. He was 1 year younger than Meng Meng, and his facial features were 50% to 60% similar to Yang Tian. However, the little guy's face was a little sallow, and there was a hint of darkness between his brows. His body was also relatively thin. Clearly, it was because of long-term malnutrition. After the few of them entered, the little guy was sleeping. After Yang Tian woke him up, the little guy rubbed his sleepy eyes and hid behind Yang Tian. He looked at Yi Chen and the dog under his feet timidly. How, this is Daddy's brother. Call him Uncle Yi. Yang Tian patted the little guy's head lovingly. The little guy then called out in his baby voice, Uncle Yi. Uncle Yi made Yi Chen over the moon. He pinched the little guy's cheeks and said while smiling, "Why don't I let Yang Hao be my godson? That's great. We'll be even closer." Yang Tian smiled immediately. He lowered his head to look at the little guy and said, How, call me godfather." The little guy glanced at Yi Chen weakly, and then looked at the patriarch of hell under his feet. He said timidly, "Call me godfather. Can I pet the puppy?" The patriarch of hell was speechless. Who did the patriarch offend? Yi Chen said in between tears and laughter, "Sure. Godfather." The little fellow cried out and ran over to touch the patriarch of Yellow Spring. The patriarch of Yellow Spring subconsciously wanted to bite him, but after sensing a certain someone's cold gaze, he shivered and did not dare to resist. He just kept drawing small circles in his heart. "Xiao Yezi, just you wait. When the patriarch's cultivation base recovers, I'll turn you into a dog too. I'll give you a name, cutie. I'll let the kids pet you." Yi Chen and Yang Tian could not help but laugh when they saw the little guy scratching the patriarch's fur continuously. Yi Chen only got the little guy to lie down after he was tired of playing. He placed his arm on the patriarch's chest and sensed it quietly. Yang Tian stood at the side, feeling uneasy. "Brother, how is it?" In fact, he didn't have much hope in his heart. "No problem." Yi Chen shook his head and transferred the spiritual power in his body into the little girl's heart. He could not stop modifying its abnormal blood vessel structure. Half an hour later, Yi Chen wiped the sweat on his forehead and lifted his head to look at Yang Tian, who was next to him. "Fortunately, I didn't disappoint you. All right. Yang Tian was stunned, thinking that he had misheard. In less than half an hour, without surgery or medication, her son's heart disease was cured just like that? Yi Chen knew that it was hard for him to believe, so he said with a smile, "If you're worried, you can take my godson to the hospital for a checkup later." It was really not difficult to treat a heart disease. If he had the cultivation of the foundation establishment stage, not to mention treating a disease, it would not be a problem for him to even replace little Yang Hao's heart. However, there was a discovery that caught his attention. Little Yang Hao's spirit root aptitude was not bad. It was actually a rare thunder spirit root in the cultivation world. He could practice thunder techniques and control the power of thunder. However, since the little girl was still young, and Yi Chen did not want to expose his identity too early, he could only write it down calmly. Yang Tian nodded doubtfully. He secretly made up his mind to take his son to the hospital for a checkup later. Subsequently, he began to cook in the kitchen. He had to make Yi Chen stay for dinner no matter what. Yi Chen could only agree to it and look around the room. The Patriarch of Hell, who was next to him, said through voice transmission through divine consciousness, "Master, this little guy has a mutated thunder spirit root. Why don't you let me take him as a human cauldron? That way, not only will Cutie be your little brother, but he'll also be your godson. We'll be even closer." "Do you want to die?" Yi Chen glared at him coldly with killing intent in his eyes. "You're not allowed to touch my people, especially my daughter. As for the human cauldron, I'll naturally think of a way for you. If you're obedient, it's not impossible for me to give you a golden immortal stage in the future." The Patriarch of Hell gulped and dared not speak anymore. Yi Chen could not be bothered with him. His gaze landed on the memorial tablet in the corner. There was a photo on it. There was a delicate and pretty lady in the photo. However, she kept staring at little Yang Hao unintentionally. When Yi Chen looked over, the lady in the photo immediately returned to normal. The Patriarch of Hell noticed that too. He could not help but say through voice transmission, "Master, this lady's resentment is quite heavy after her death. If you died a horrible death, I think you'd have become a malicious spirit." Yi Chen shook his head. At that moment Yang Tian walked out with the dishes. He said while smiling, "That's sister-in-law, Xiao Qiong. You guys should have met her before." Yi Chen did not answer his question. "Have you seen sister-in-law after she died? I've never dreamt about it, but I always feel like she's by my side." Yang Tian did not notice the hidden meaning in Yi Chen's words at all. He glanced at little Yang Hao next to him by instinct and said with slight guilt, "Hao Hao, on the other hand, said that he often sees his mother." "Daddy, I really see Mommy often," Yang Hao replied in his childish voice. Yang Hao replied in a childish voice. Yang Tian patted his head, thinking that his son missed his mother too much. Yi Chen secretly nodded. The Patriarch of Hell was right. It was resentment and obsession. It was an obsession born from reluctance to part with her husband and son. Subsequently, Yi Chen picked up the incense stick in front of the memorial tablet. After lighting it up, he bowed to the lady in the photo. At the same time, he said to himself, "Sister-in-law, I know you can't bear to part with your son and husband, but ashes to ashes. If you force them to stay, you'll only hurt them. I, Yi Chen, promise you that blood must be paid with blood." However, nobody knew that, as Yi Chen bowed, the sky outside the house darkened. Outside the house, the originally sunny sky suddenly darkened. In an instant, dark clouds covered the sky, lightning flashed, and thunder rumbled. It was as if a storm was coming. The Patriarch of Hell was shocked. "Holy sh*t, who exactly is this brat? He can trigger such a huge phenomenon just by paying his respects to a mortal. Even if I'm at my peak, it won't be so terrifying." Since ancient times, only mortals had been kneeling to heaven and earth. It was just like how a son would kneel to his father and a minister would kneel to the emperor. It was the heavenly Tao. If it was reversed, it would trigger a phenomenon. The more noble a person was, the bigger the phenomenon would be. At the same time, a black energy that could not be seen with the naked eye floated out of the portrait slowly. The black energy slowly consolidated into the image of a lady. The lady knelt to Yi Chen respectfully. She was a spirit, so she could see things that living people could not. For example, the dense emperor aura on Yi Chen's body and the heavenly emperor avatar behind him, who was wearing a heavenly emperor crown, a 9-clawed dragon yellow robe, and purple cloud boots. Little Yang Hao, who was playing, rubbed his eyes and pointed at the lady in the air. "Daddy, I see Mommy again. Don't scare your godfather." Yang Tian glared at him angrily. The lady in the air looked at Yang Tian and his son reluctantly. Subsequently, she turned into a black energy and slowly dispersed. "Forget it, I'll help you again." Yi Chen sighed and flicked his finger at the black energy that was about to disperse. A spiritual energy seed shot into the black energy and dispersed. It was a spiritual energy seed that could protect Yang Tian's wife on her way to hell. She would not be harassed by the servants of death and the dead. It was also a locator. After she was reincarnated, the three of them might have a chance to reunite when the opportunity came. Chapter 54. Yi Chen secretly gave the Yang father and son some money and returned home with the Patriarch of Hell. He walked into the room and carried Meng Meng in his embrace. He then merged the soul blood that the Patriarch of Hell gave him into his daughter's body. The Patriarch of Hell, who was lying on the ground, hung his head when he saw that. He wanted to cry, but no tears came out. As soon as the soul blood merged, it meant that the little girl, Meng Meng, would be his master from now on. The Patriarch would have to listen to her with just a thought. If Meng Meng was in danger, the Patriarch would do his best to protect her. Otherwise, his soul would be destroyed as soon as his master died. Yi Chen's expression softened as if he sensed the patriarch's reluctance. He said, "As long as you protect Mingming, not only will I get you a great cauldron, but I'll also set you free after 10 years. You'll really set me free after 10 years? The Patriarch of Hell's eyes could not stop flickering. He seemed to be in disbelief. The Patriarch could accept it if it was really 10 years. After all, to cultivators, 100 years would pass in the blink of an eye, let alone 10 years. Yi Chen nodded and said, "Of course. All right, I'll believe you this time." The Patriarch of Hell clenched his teeth and accepted his fate eventually. When the little girl woke up, the Patriarch of Hell, who was standing aside, wagged his tail to please her. In reality, he felt bitter. There were even tears of disappointment flowing down her cheeks. The little girl looked at the Patriarch while biting her finger. "Cutie, why are you crying? Are you hungry?" The little girl grabbed a handful of dog food and placed it before the Patriarch. She said while giggling, "I'll feed you." The little girl was connected to the Patriarch now, so she could sense all of his emotions. The Patriarch of Hell cried even harder. "I don't eat dog food." "You don't eat dog food?" The little girl sensed what the Patriarch was thinking. She covered her mouth in surprise. "You want to drink red wine? King crab? An Australian lobster?" The Patriarch of Hell could not stop nodding. The little girl was troubled and said weakly, "But these are expensive. I've never eaten them before." When Wu Lan, who was outside, saw this scene, she immediately said angrily, "This silly girl. What are you mumbling about? If dogs don't eat dog food, why would they eat king crab? Buttface, you have to be obedient and eat the dog food. Dog food is also very expensive." The little girl reached out and patted his head, comforting him. Patriarch Yellow Spring had no choice but to accept his fate and eat a mouthful of the dog food in the little fellow's hand. After swallowing it with tears in his eyes, he was stunned at first, and then he realized that something was wrong. So, dog food tasted so good, the old ancestor couldn't help but take another bite. The more he ate, the more delicious it was. At the same time, he felt conflicted. On one hand, he considered that dog food was for dogs to eat, and he was a tribulation transcendence stage cultivator, so how could he eat dog food? On the other hand, the thing he possessed was a dog, and even its stomach was a dog's stomach. As long as it was a dog, it would not be able to resist the temptation of dog food. Reason told the Patriarch that he shouldn't eat dog food, and his body instincts told him that dog food was delicious. In a short while, the dog food in Mingming's hand was gone. Fortunately, it was dog food this time. The Patriarch licked his lips as if he had not had enough. An extremely terrifying thought flashed through his mind. If I see a pile of sh*t by the road next time, should I go and have a bite too? After all, a dog can't stop itself from eating sh*t. Yi Chen stood aside and watched the interaction between the human and the dog quietly. Soon, his mother, Wu Lan, began urging the little girl to wash up and have breakfast. Yi Chen put the Patriarch into the little girl's bag after he was done with all of that. He then walked to school with her. At the entrance of Little Swan Kindergarten, Lan had been waiting at the school entrance since the beginning. She could not help but look across the street with her beautiful eyes. She would take out her phone to check the time every now and then. She frowned slightly as if she was waiting for someone. She wore a beige dress that day and a thin burgundy shirt with cropped sleeves. Half of her fair arms were exposed, and her long hair flowed down to her waist like a waterfall. Her dressing attracted the attention of the family members who passed by. The uncle at the entrance could not help but tease, "Ms. O, are you waiting for your boyfriend?" Olan's pretty face blushed when she saw his flirtatious stare. She shook her head immediately and said, "Uncle Zhao and no. I can't believe that our Xiaotian kindergarten's big swan has been taken by someone." "What a pity," the uncle lamented while shaking his head. "Not waiting for your boyfriend? Who are you kidding? I've never seen you dressed up as beautifully as you are today. Look, not only did you put on some light makeup, but you even drew on your eyebrows. Your skin is so tender. Olan blushed. Just when she was going to explain, she saw an ordinary-looking young man walking over with a little girl in his arms. Mr. Yi. Olan went to him immediately. Yi Chen looked at her dressing in surprise and said while smiling, Ms. O, were you waiting for me? Olan nodded. Just when she was going to speak, Meng Meng, who was in Yi Chen's embrace, complained, Ms. O, don't you love me anymore? I can't believe you only greeted Daddy when you saw me and Daddy. Naughty girl, I love you. Olan snickered and could not help but pinch the little girl's nose. Meng Meng smiled mischievously. Do you love my daddy too? Yes. Olan said by instinct. She blushed when she realized that she had been tricked. She waved her hand immediately and said, And no, I don't. Meng Meng, you've become naughty. How dare you tease me? Although she said that, she peeped at Yi Chen intentionally. She was relieved when she noticed that Yi Chen did not have any expression on his face. At the same time, she felt a little disappointed. Meng Meng pouted and said in all seriousness, Ms. O, although I know that you like my daddy a lot and that he's very handsome, you should give up. My daddy has a wife. He won't like other women. Tui, who likes your daddy? Olan patted her head angrily. Moreover, how is your daddy handsome? He's clearly not handsome, all right? I don't care. Daddy's the most handsome. Daddy's my Prince Charming, Meng Meng said righteously. Yi Chen laughed out loud when she called him Prince Charming. He said to Olan while looking at her, Ms. O, I suppose there's something that you want to talk to me about? My daddy. Olan looked at the long Ferrari by the roadside by instinct. Yi Chen nodded to show that he understood. He got her to wait for a while, and got into the Ferrari with her after sending Meng Meng to her class. Guoyang, who looked haggard, knelt from the back seat immediately and begged, Miracle Dr. Yi, I'm here to apologize for what I did. I hope that you can save my life. Olan, who was standing aside, said with a complicated expression on her pretty face, My daddy stopped forcing me to marry Ding Lei. On top of that, he transferred all his company shares to me. Yi Chen nodded to show that he understood. After thinking about it, he took out a black medicinal pill and tossed it into Guoyang's embrace directly. You'll be fine after you eat this. I'll be fine after I eat this? Guoyang was stunned to look at the black thing in her embrace. She thought Yi Chen was joking with her. Olan was dumbstruck. Could a medicinal pill like that cure AIDS? No matter how she looked at it, he seemed like a fraud. Yi Chen said impatiently, It's up to you whether you want it or not. I'll eat it, I'll eat it. Guoyang clenched her teeth and swallowed the black medicinal pill. She said with a bitter expression, Why does it smell bad? It's so salty. You'll be fine after you have diarrhea. If you're still worried, you can go to the hospital for a checkup after you have diarrhea, Yi Chen said with an unnatural expression. Could he say that the black medicinal pill was refined from the Patriarch of Hell's Pea? In the Patriarch's words, what right does a mortal have to eat medicinal pills? He only deserves to drink my pee. Moreover, it can cure all diseases. Yi Chen got out of the car as soon as he was done speaking. He did not intend to stay at all. Guoyang opened his mouth and was going to speak when he suddenly felt a sharp pain in his stomach. He said to the driver immediately, Hurry, hurry up and drive. I'm having diarrhea. What the few of them had no idea was that a man in a baseball cap put his camera away quietly at the side of the road less than 200 meters away from the Ferrari. He then got into a black Bentley. At the Shenghua Corporation, a handsome young man took a good look at the photos on the table. They were all photos of Yi Chen and Olan. He had a grim expression on his face. That be *TCH. The young man flipped the table. His expression was ferocious. I've given you flowers and diamonds to woo you. Forget it if you don't accept them, but you're talking and laughing with a poor brat. They're so intimate. And that old man, Guoyang. He promised to marry his daughter to me, but he's going back on his word for this poor brat. Chapter 55. At Yaffle Cosmetics Company, Limited, Yi Chen went to the office directly after leaving the kindergarten. Since the company belonged to him, he had to run it no matter what so that he could make money. After all, cultivation required a partner, wealth, and location. Naturally, wealth referred to money. With money, he could buy many precious herbs to refine medicinal pills and equipment. When he arrived at the entrance of the company, he was surprised to see a person. It was Yi-Wen. At the moment, she was blocked by the security guard at the door. The guard refused to let her in. Yi Chen walked over while frowning. The guard saluted him as soon as he saw him and said with a smile, "Director Yi. What's going on?" Yi Chen asked while looking at Yi-Wen, who was standing aside. It had been a few days since he last saw her. She looked a little pale, as if she had not slept well. The security guard had no idea about Yi-Wen and Yi Chen's relationship, but he explained patiently, "Director Yi, this lady said that she used to be our company's employee. She even said that she left something inside and wanted to get it. I asked her to show me her employee ID according to the company's entry and exit rules, but she couldn't. I left in a hurry the last time, so I left my ID in the office drawer." Yi-Wen glanced at Yi Chen with a complicated expression on her pretty face. She bit her lip, feeling wronged. If she had a choice, she would not want to return to this place, let alone see Yi Chen. She had been in a bad mood ever since she was fired. She was angry, humiliated, and embarrassed. Her cousin, who she had looked down on time and time again, had slapped her in the face again and again. For example, the mansion in 9 Dragons Bay, the list of 500,000 sets of cosmetics, and the chairman of her own company. Yi-Wen clenched her fists tightly as she thought to this point. Rage filled her heart. Why were you late the day I brought you here for the interview? Why did you wear that ill-fitting suit? If you didn't do that, perhaps I wouldn't hate you. Then, what happened next wouldn't have happened. However, Yi Chen had no idea what she was thinking at the moment. He turned his head and said to the guard, "She was indeed our employee. Let her in." He walked into the office after saying that. "Have a safe trip, Director Yi." "Take care, Director Yi." The guard sucked up to Yi Chen in all sorts of ways. He did not care if Yi Chen could see it. Yi-Wen felt even more bitter when she saw that. She hesitated for a moment and walked to the sales department's office. On the day she was fired, she had left in a hurry and had left her ID card behind. Yesterday, she had found a new company through her connections and needed an ID card when she was hired. Otherwise, she would not have put down her pride and come back to this sad place. Ever since Yi Chen started the fire 3 times on the day he was appointed, the entire sales department had become obedient. Everyone had their eyes on Yi-Wen the moment she walked into the office. Everyone was stunned at first, and they had different expressions on their faces. Some were sympathetic, some were gloating, and some were even disgusted. A female employee who was rather close to Yi-Wen stood up while smiling. "Wen-Wen, you're finally back. I told you that no matter how ruthless Director Yi is, he's still your cousin. He won't be that cruel." "I am back to get something," Yi-Wen explained with her head down, not daring to look at the people. The office was silent for a few seconds. A bespectacled male employee immediately waved his hand and said, "If you want to take it, do it quickly. Don't disturb our work." "Chunbo, what are you talking about? To think that Wen-Wen always helps you." The female employee from before could not help but glare at him. Chen Bo could not help but scoff. "She helps me? I've been annoyed with her since the beginning. She used to point at me just because she's Lu Feng's girlfriend. The 2 sluts, Zhao Qian and Zhang Li, even bullied her because of her." "You," the female employee from before was enraged. "Chen Bo is right." Another slightly plump man chimed in with sarcasm. "Someone's really something. Not only did she not help her cousin when he came to work, but she's also cold to him. She even pretended not to know him. She deserves what happened today." "That's right. Director Yi disguised herself as an employee and came to our sales department to keep a low profile. She knows everyone's character very well. The truth has proven that those who are fired are scumbags while those who stay are the elite. A series of mockery came at Yi-won. She felt a lump in her throat. She covered her mouth with her hand and shouted, "All right, can you guys stop talking? I'm just here to pick up my stuff." She ran to her previous seat after saying that. She opened the drawer and ran out of the office after picking up her identity card. She cried as she ran. Yi-won finally could not help but cry after running out of the office. She felt wronged. Why does everyone think that it's my fault? What exactly did I do wrong? Yi-chun, why did you leave a bad impression on me in the beginning? It's all your fault. At that moment, a white Porsche drove to the side of the road. As the window wound down, a delicate, pretty face appeared. Won, are you all right? Sister Olan, I'm fine. Yi-won wiped her tears with a tissue immediately. Her eyes were red. The lady in the car was Olan. Olan walked out after opening the car door. She held Yi-won and comforted her. All right. Stop crying. It seems like you haven't eaten, have you? Let's go. I happen to know a farmhouse nearby that tastes great. It's my treat. Olan helped Yi-won into the car as she spoke, and the car drove away. However, they did not notice that a black Mercedes-Benz was following them at a moderate speed. At the Blue Wave Bay farmhouse, after getting Yi-won to sit down, Olan called the boss over and ordered many dishes. She then said to Yi-won, "Tell me, did someone bully you? I'll help you vent your anger." Sister Olan, I'm really fine. Yi-won did not tell her about Yi-chun and her recent experience. Olan could only let it go, seeing that Yi-won was unwilling to tell her. She said while smiling, "Have you found your ID? I've just taken over the company, so I know nothing. I'll get you to be the marketing supervisor in my company this time. After all, you've worked in this field before this." "Thank you, Sister Olan," Yi-won said with gratitude written all over her face. She felt much better now. Olan rolled her eyes at her and said angrily, "We've known each other for a long time. Moreover, my mother is your university professor. We're family. Why are you saying that?" Yi-won nodded. She could not help but think of Yi-chun in her head. There was a faint hatred in her. What's so great about being the director? God knows how long you'll be the director. Although you fired me, I found another company in the blink of an eye. Moreover, I'm the sales supervisor from the very beginning. Speaking of which, I should thank you. Not long after, the owner of the farmhouse then served the dishes. "Let's eat. Follow me to the office after you're done," Olan greeted her passionately. After thanking him, Yi-won removed the bracelet on her hand and placed it on the table. She picked up her chopsticks and began eating. Olan looked at the bracelet with 6 beads by instinct. Her pretty eyes lit up. "Wow, this bracelet is so pretty." "Pretty?" Yi-won was stunned. Olan smiled from the bottom of her heart. "It's really pretty. Where did you get it? I'll get one someday." She really felt that it was not bad. Although the bracelet was connected by a rubber band, the 6 beads on it were obviously man-made, and the quality was also good. It looked very pleasing to the eye. Moreover, she had lived a life of luxury since she was a child. Her mother was not only a university professor but also owned a company. Her father also owned a company, so she didn't care much about gold and silver jewelry. "Someone I hate gave it to me," Yi-won said in slight disgust. She then pushed the bracelet to Olan. "Sister, take it if you like it. It's not something valuable anyway." She did not want anything that belonged to Yi-chun. The reason why she kept the bracelet was that she had yet to find the opportunity to return it to Yi-chun. "I won't hold back then." Noticing that Yi-won seemed to dislike the bracelet, Olan hesitated for a moment and extended her arm to take it. She asked curiously after observing it for a while. Chapter 56. Yi-won said while frowning when she saw Olan's suggestive look, "No, it's a birthday present from my cousin." "Relative? I think it's your boyfriend?" Did Lu Feng give it to you? Olan asked while smiling in disbelief. She had seen Lu Feng once before, but because she was focused on taking care of her mother at that time, she did not have much contact with him. Sis, it really isn't. Yiwen pursed her lips and panicked. Moreover, I've broken up with Lu Feng. Ever since the night of her birthday, she had lost interest in Lu Feng. She could not help but think of a certain person who had saved her that night. Therefore, she took the initiative to break up with Lu Feng after she was fired. I'm sorry, I didn't know beforehand. Olan's smile froze. She said apologetically and changed the topic. Did you say that your cousin gave you this bracelet? Where did he buy it? I heard that he did it himself, Yiwen said with an unnatural expression. She could not help but feel enraged when she thought about this. A dignified chairman of the board of directors actually gave a birthday gift in such a shabby way. It was obvious that he was deliberately humiliating me. Olan was shocked. You made it yourself? Your cousin is quite clever with his hands. What's his name again? Someday, I'll ask him to make a few more for me. His name is Yi Chen. She added at the end of her sentence, Sister, there's no need for you to look for him. He's very arrogant. His EQ is a little low and he's not likable. The reason she said that was because she was worried that Yi Chen would offend Olan and drag her into it. Olan was slightly stunned. What did you say his name was? Yi Chen? That's right. His name is Yi Chen. Sister, do you know him? Yiwen nodded and looked at her curiously. Olan secretly inhaled and said while smiling, I don't think so, but I know someone with the same name as your cousin. He's a miracle doctor too. After saying this, she subconsciously shook her head. Yiwen's cousin should not be Mr. Yi. Things couldn't be so coincidental. Besides, not only did Mr. Yi cure his mother's mental illness, he even cured his father's AIDS with a black pill. It was not an exaggeration to say that his medical skills were unparalleled. If Yiwen had such a cousin with such amazing medical skills, she would love him. Why would she hate him? Sister, the Yi Chen that you know is a miracle doctor? Yiwen was stunned. She thought she heard it wrong. Yes. Olan nodded and told her about how Yi Chen treated Shin Shuhua and O Guoyang while smiling. She did not mention anything else. Yiwen was shocked to hear that. She shook her head and said, Then we don't know the same person. She heaved a sigh of relief in her heart. I knew it. How could there be such a coincidence? If her cousin had such amazing medical skills, the news would have spread a long time ago. Olan patted the softness on her chest. That's why I was shocked when I heard you say those two names. Sister, don't tell me that you like this miracle Dr. Yi? Yiwen looked at Olan wryly. She even said that it was her first time seeing Olan introducing someone so respectfully. She even had a smile on her face when she mentioned him. Olan's pretty face blushed instantly. She retorted angrily, Who likes him? I'm just grateful. Although she said that, her cheeks were getting redder. Apart from feeling shy, she was also a little disappointed. After all, Mr. Yi had a daughter. Yiwen did not want to talk about Yi Chen anymore. She hesitated and asked weakly while clenching her teeth. Oh yes, sister, have you heard of ancient martial artists? Ancient martial artists? Olan looked stunned. Subsequently, she snickered and said, That's something that only exists in novels, isn't it? That's impossible in reality. No. Yiwen shook her head and said in a very certain tone, I've seen it. I saw it with my own eyes. He tossed someone up into the sky with one hand and slapped the person into the wall. Olan stretched her arm out and touched her forehead immediately. She said in surprise, You don't have a fever. Why are you talking nonsense? Sister, I'm telling the truth. Yiwen was pissed. After slapping Olan's hand away, she told her everything that happened that night when she ran into the alley while drunk. Olan was dumbstruck when she heard that. Her voluptuous breasts could not stop moving up and down. She only said a while later, It's fortunate that it's me. If it were someone else, they'd think that you're love-struck and fantasizing about your future Prince Charming. Yuan stomped her feet angrily. Sister, based on what you said, the man in the black robe and the clown mask is an ancient martial artist. Olan went back to the topic. Yuan said in certainty, that's right. Think about it. How can an ordinary person be so capable? Moreover, I think that person's back looks familiar. He's young too. Did you look for him later on? Olan asked. Yuan forced a smile. I did, but I couldn't find him. It's like he vanished. Not only did she look for him, but she even went to the alley that night again. She even compared the black robe that Yi Chun had draped over her on the internet. However, she could not find anything. On the contrary, she realized that the man's height, voice, and tone were very similar to Yi Chen's when she was recalling. However, she squashed the thought as soon as it popped up. How could it be him? Forget it. It doesn't matter if you can't find him. If he's really an ancient martial artist, I don't think he'd want you to find him. Olan could not help but comfort Yiwen when she saw how upset she was. Yiwen sighed. She could only calm herself down and begin eating. Half an hour later, both of them were almost done. Olan drove out of the farmhouse with Yiwen after paying the bill. The farmhouse was located in the suburbs. After getting off the highway, they had to pass through a small mountain road. There were large patches of corn around, and the road was rather narrow. Just when Olan was halfway there, she suddenly noticed a BMW behind her at an extremely fast speed. Before she could react, she heard a thud. The BMW behind her had crashed hard into the back of the Porsche. Sister, what's going on? As the car shook intensely, Yiwen, who was in the passenger seat, was almost flung out. She was so shocked that her face turned pale. Before Olan could think too much about it, the BMW behind crashed into the Porsche again. The Porsche crashed into the cornfield at the side and the car door was flung open. Both of them rolled out of the car hard. Meanwhile, the black BMW stopped by the roadside. Subsequently, two men in suits and ties walked out of the car. They walked toward Yiwen one step after another with an unfriendly look in their eyes. Olan coughed hard a few times. She held back the excruciating pain and helped Yiwen, who was next to her, up. She said to the duo who were walking over, "Who exactly are you guys?" She was not dumb. She realized that something was wrong from the series of events earlier. Clearly, these two people were coming for them. Ms. O, our target isn't you, but her. It's best that you stay out of our business. The leading man pointed at Yiwen and walked toward her while smirking. Yiwen's pretty face changed. She stood next to Olan by instinct and said in fear, "What are you guys trying to do? I don't know you guys." She had no idea what was going on until now. "Mizzo?" Olan's pretty face changed. She pulled Yiwen behind her immediately and said while pretending to be calm, "You guys know me? Who exactly are you guys? Why are you guys capturing Wenwen? Why are you talking nonsense with her? We'll bring both of them back," the other man said impatiently. He then charged at Olan and Yiwen while grinning hideously. "Sister." Yiwen was so scared that she cried directly. Olan held Yiwen's hand tightly as she watched the man running toward her. Her heart sank completely. She would not have brought Wenwen here for dinner if she had known that this would happen. No, she must not let Wenwen be captured no matter what. Just when the man was less than 20 centimeters away from Olan and Yiwen, Olan clenched her teeth. Just when she extended her arm to hold the man back, Yiwen seized the opportunity to escape. However, in the next second, she saw a blue gleam explode from her body all of a sudden. Bang! A loud thud came. Chapter 57. The scene that came out of nowhere shocked everyone. The screen of light also flashed by. Olan looked at the string of beads on her right wrist by instinct. She heard a soft explosion faintly as soon as the light screen appeared. Subsequently, she felt her wrist go numb. There were supposed to be 6 beads on the string of beads, but one was missing at the moment. She looked down at the ground immediately and realized that there was a layer of white powdery substance under her feet. Her heart skipped a beat. Could it have saved us? She was in slight disbelief. Yuan saw what happened earlier too. Her pretty face was blank as disbelief filled her face. The light screen that saved us earlier, did it come from the string of beads? The only man left at the scene had a change of expression. He was shocked by what happened earlier. Looking at his partner who had passed out on the ground, he wanted to run after some hesitation. However, he was afraid of what the person behind him would do. Eventually, he clenched his teeth and charged at Olan. I don't believe I can bump into a ghost in broad daylight. Sister! Yuan called out by instinct. Olan's pretty face changed. She looked at the string of beads on her wrist and grabbed Yuan tightly with determination written all over her face. She watched the man charging at them without moving. Just when the man was approaching them, thud! Another light screen exploded from Olan's body. The man felt like he had collided with an iron wall. His body flew out and landed hard on the ground. He passed out instantly. Olan and Yuan saw it clearly this time. The light screen did indeed explode from the string of beads. Olan looked down immediately. Another of the 5 beads on the string of beads had exploded. There were only 4 beads left now. It's it. Olan looked at the string of beads on her wrist in surprise and joy. She mumbled, "It saved us." If she was just guessing earlier, she was 100% sure now. Sister, did this necklace save us earlier? Yuan looked at the necklace blankly. Her head was buzzing. Olan grabbed Yuan while her pretty face was flushing. Wenwen, your cousin gave you a magic tool. It's a real magic tool. I heard that magic tools have functions that ordinary people can't imagine. For example, this one is for self-defense. The 6 pearls on it can save you 6 times during critical moments. Olan's pretty face was flushed. Yuan's delicate body jolted and her face turned extremely pale. She could no longer hear what Olan was saying. I understand now. So the reason he gave me such a birthday present wasn't because he was stingy, nor was he trying to embarrass me. It was because this beaded necklace was the best and most valuable of all the birthday gifts. No wonder he calmly said his gift was priceless when Lu Feng mocked him in front of everyone on my birthday. An artifact that could save people 6 times, how could it not be priceless? I can't believe you gave me something so precious as a birthday present. I can't believe I despised it and even ran out in front of everyone. I can't believe I scolded you when I was drunk. I held a grudge and ignored you when you were targeted and Lu Feng was about to fire you. I was wrong, I was so wrong. So I was really wrong. Drip, drip. Yuan's tears flowed like pearls from a broken necklace as she thought about it. They flowed out of her eyes and wet her cheeks. She had never felt so bitter, regretful, ashamed, and all kinds of emotions at this moment burst out completely. Olan, who was standing aside, asked immediately after noticing that she was crying all of a sudden, "Are you all right, Wenwen?" Yuan did not feel embarrassed at all this time. She did not extend her hand to wipe her tears because she could not wipe away the regret in her heart no matter how hard she tried. She lifted her eyes to look at the beaded necklace on Olan's hand while sobbing. She bit her lip and asked, "Can you return it to me? That's what he gave me. I gave it to someone else without knowing what it's worth." At that moment she was extremely regretful. Olan was slightly stunned. Subsequently, she removed the necklace and placed it in Yuan's hand without even thinking about it. Just when she was going to say something, she realized that Yuan was running along the cornfield while covering her mouth. "Where are you going, Wenwen?" Olan stopped her immediately. Yuan did not turn around. Instead, she ran even faster. She wanted to look for him and apologize to him personally. "I'm sorry, cousin at Yaffle Cosmetics Company." In the meeting room when it was almost time to get off work, Yi Chen sat on the high seat and listened to the general manager, Gao Hong's work report expressionlessly. At that moment, his phone rang. Yi Chen smiled apologetically at the people below. Subsequently, he picked up his phone and walked to the corridor outside of the meeting room. It was the Patriarch of Hell calling. He had bought a phone for the Patriarch earlier and got him a SIM card. As soon as the phone was connected, the Patriarch's tearless voice came from the other side. Master, who did you offend? This is my first day as a bodyguard, and I'm already being targeted by someone. What happened? Yi Chen's heart sank. At the same time, in a secluded alley near the Little Swan Kindergarten, a black puppy sat on the ground. A little black dog was sitting on the ground, and beside it was a little girl of 4 or 5 years old. She seemed to have fallen asleep. The black puppy was holding an iPhone with both of its front paws. It was spitting at the phone while looking speechless. If an outsider were to see that, they would definitely be scared to death. Today, the kindergarten was holding an event to visit the elderly in the community. However, the students were separated by a car on their way back. Subsequently, 2 hunks got out of the car and targeted the little girl, Meng Meng. The Patriarch was hiding in Meng Meng's school bag at the time. After noticing that, he did not want to expose his identity in front of everyone. Therefore, he secretly urged Meng Meng to run into the alley through telepathy. His goal was to lure the people behind him to a secluded place. To prevent the little girl from being scared, the Patriarch blew at her to make her fall asleep. Killing intent flashed through Yi Chen's face after hearing that. He said with a scoff, "You did great. Leave one of them alive and kill the rest." "Can I eat the remaining one?" The Patriarch smacked his lips. He was about to throw up from all the dog food he had been eating recently. He was thinking if he should change his taste. "Sure." Yi Chen hung up the phone after saying that. He looked ferocious. He was not worried about Meng Meng's safety. After all, with the old monster, the Patriarch of Hell, around, nobody below the master level could hurt him. He was furious that someone had set their eyes on him. On top of that, they had touched his reverse scale. Since that was the case, he would kill them. He would turn the world upside down and blood would flow like a river. After the Patriarch of Hell hung up, his furry ears twitched. He then looked at the entrance of the alley with his dog eyes and grinned. "You two brats, it's your bad luck to bump into me." Chapter 58. It was 6 in the evening. Yi Chen left the office and rushed home. Suddenly, he thought of something and looked behind him in deep thought. He then lifted his head to look at the surveillance cameras around him. He smiled and snapped his fingers softly. "Pa!" More than 10 surveillance cameras exploded at the same time. After that, his figure flashed, and in the blink of an eye, he walked into an abandoned tube-shaped building nearby. At the same time, 2 men in suits quickly followed him. They looked at each other when they saw the empty apartment. "Where is he? I saw him come in with my own eyes. Why is he gone?" The other man opened his eyes wide, looking confused. At that moment, a cold voice came from behind the duo. "Are you guys looking for me?" The duo turned their heads immediately and realized that there was a person behind them all of a sudden. They were almost scared to death. "Bada." Yi Chen lit a cigarette and asked coldly, "Tell me, who sent you guys here?" "Go to hell and ask the King of Hell." One of them scoffed and charged at Yi Chen quickly. "Pooh!" A head flew into the air and blood splattered everywhere. The eyes of the face on the head were wide open. He had no idea how the person did it until he died. His companion knelt onto the ground in fear upon witnessing that. He was scared out of his wit. "Don't kill me. Don't kill me. I'll tell you, I'll tell you. It's too late." Yi Chen flicked the cigarette ash away and pressed his palm on the man's head. He performed the soul-searching tactic by force and read all of his memories quickly. The soul-searching tactic was one of the more overbearing methods in the cultivation world. By using divine consciousness to invade one's consciousness forcefully, the person who was searched would either turn into an idiot or die on the spot. A while later, Yi Chen retracted his hand. A cold smirk appeared at the corner of his lips. "Ding Lei? You want to kill me because of Olan?" Very well, I was just thinking of looking for you. I can't believe that you're provoking me. He tossed a fireball, and the two dead bodies on the ground turned into ashes instantly. He then turned around and left. At Jinyang District, Yiwen stood below Yi Chen's house with her fingers clasped together. She would lift her head to look upstairs and behind her at times. She seemed to be hesitating. A few seconds later, she took a deep breath and went upstairs in determination. She walked to Yi Chen's house and knocked on the door softly. The one who opened the door was Yi Hai. After a moment of surprise, he smiled and said, "Oh, it's Wenwen. Come in and sit." Yiwen bit her lip and walked in. She looked around the entire house by instinct and saw Mengmeng bathing a dog. The dog kept shaking its body, causing the water on its body to splatter on Mengmeng's face. Mengmeng giggled. "But face be good. Don't move around. You stink. Take a seat. Don't just stand there." Yi Hai poured a glass of water for her, passionately, seeing that Yiwen was spacing out. Yiwen caught it with both hands immediately and asked by instinct, "Uncle, where's my cousin? Little Chun hasn't gotten off work yet. Why are you looking for him?" Yi Hai smiled. Yiwen nodded and shook her head again. She had no idea where to start. She stared blankly at Mengmeng, who was bathing the dog, and said while smiling, "Uncle, is she my cousin's daughter?" "Yeah." Yi Hai waved at the little fellow with a kind face. "Mengmeng, this is your little aunt." "Hi, little aunt. My name is Mengmeng." Mengmeng smiled sweetly. She was obedient. "Hi, Mengmeng." Yiwen was excited by instinct. Her cousin's daughter was so cute. Her pretty eyes dimmed, but why did she not realize that earlier? At the same time, footsteps came from outside. "Daddy's back." Joy filled Mengmeng's little face. She wiped her hands and ran out immediately. She jumped into Yi Chen's embrace, who was standing at the door. "He's back, will he forgive me?" Yiwen's heart skipped a beat. Various emotions rushed into her again. The courage that she had summoned after much difficulty was messed up now. Yi Chen picked the little girl up and kissed her cheek. He said while smiling, "My dear daughter, I heard that there's an activity at school today. Are you tired?" "Daddy, I'm not tired." Mengmeng hugged his neck and said in a clingy manner, "I was on my way back to school when a bad uncle was chasing me. Cutie asked me to run, and I fell asleep. The bad uncle was gone when I woke up." Yi Chen came to a realization. He walked in after putting her down. He was slightly stunned when he saw Yiwen next to her. However, he said nothing and walked into the bathroom after looking away. Yiwen had been keeping her head down since the moment he walked in. She dared not lift her head to look at him. She only lifted her head after he entered the bathroom. She stood up and said, "Uncle, then I'll head back first." "You're leaving as soon as you're here? Why don't you head back after dinner? Your aunt is going to get off work soon," Yi Hai said while frowning. "No, there's no need for that." Yiwen left Yi Chen's house as if she was escaping after saying that. She felt much more relaxed as soon as she walked out. Her cousin, whom she used to view as trash and looked down on, was now like a huge mountain pressing down on her, making it hard for her to breathe. She did not even have the courage to apologize. Yi Chen walked out after changing his clothes. He asked when he saw the empty couch, "Dad, is she gone?" "That's right. She doesn't even want to eat." Yi Hai sighed and said while frowning, "Wenwen never comes to our house. Why is she acting so weird today? Did you bully her?" "No." Yi Chen shook his head in between tears and laughter. He did not care and took out the hairdryer to dry the patriarch's body. The patriarch's body tensed up. He seemed to be unable to take Yi Chen's enthusiasm. He said weakly through voice transmission through divine consciousness, Master, the person you asked me to keep alive is dead. I scared him to death." The patriarch was a little guilty. There were only 2 people who chased him into the alley. The patriarch swallowed one of them without saying anything while the other one was scared to death. What else could he do? "Don't worry. I know everything." Yi Chen shook his head and said through voice transmission, "Guard the house tomorrow night. I'm going out." The patriarch could not stop nodding. He could not help but jolt when he sensed the killing intent that was difficult to hide from Yi Chen. Oh my God, this brat is probably going to kill someone. I wonder which bastard is going to be unlucky. The next night, Yi Chen went to Yang Tian's house directly. Yang Tian welcomed him as soon as he saw him. He said with excitement written all over his face, "Xiao Yezi, you're amazing. You really cured Hao Hao's heart disease." He had personally brought Yang Hao to the hospital for a checkup yesterday. The checkup report showed that his son's heart disease was cured overnight. Apart from being excited, he was also filled with admiration and infinite gratitude for Yi Chen. He was going to kneel to Yi Chen as he spoke. "You saved Hao Hao's life, which means that you've saved my life. From now on, the lives of both of us are yours." "No need." Yi Chen stopped him immediately. He looked at the little girl who had fallen asleep on the couch, and said with an extremely cold expression. Chapter 59. What? Kill? Yang Tian exclaimed. Subsequently, he stopped talking immediately as shock filled his face. Yi Chen said, "What do you think? Brother, are you really going? That place is very dangerous. You might even die." Yang Tian's lips were shaking as he held the cigarette in his mouth. He was getting more and more confused about this brother of his. A hot-blooded man should be brave. If there's anything that stands in your way, just kill them all. Yi Chen patted his shoulder while smiling and said, "Don't worry. Since I said I'm going to kill someone, it'll be someone else who dies. Of course, you don't have to go if you're scared." Yang Tian took a good look at him and sighed softly. In the end, he brought Yi Chen out. The duo headed straight to the underground boxing market under Ding Lei. Along the way, Yang Tian introduced the information about underground boxing to Yi Chen. All in all, underground boxing could be summed up in 4 words. There were no rules. Underground boxing was different from regular boxing and fighting competitions. In an underground boxing competition, boxers would fight to the death. Apart from the use of weapons, one could say that both parties would resort to all sorts of method. The process was usually bloody and violent. Meanwhile, there would be serious injuries and deaths in an underground boxing competition. Therefore, most people would not choose to become an underground boxer unless they had nowhere else to go like Yang Tian. It was precisely because of its bloody nature that it attracted a large number of spectators. Naturally, the main reason was that underground boxing was usually related to gambling. Each boxer had a boss behind them. When the boxers were fighting for the high prize money, the bosses would begin betting with each other. Meanwhile, the organizer of the boxing arena seized the opportunity to set up bets outside to attract the spectators to place their bet. Yang Tian and Yi Chen walked for over half an hour before arriving at their destination. It was an underground parking lot near the suburbs. There was a small door that was dug out in the parking lot. There were 2 tall, hunky men guarding the door. Each of them was holding a magnetic detector. The leading hunky smirked in disdain as soon as he saw Yang Tian. "Yo, Yang Xiaochang. You're pretty tough. You were beaten up like a dog a few days ago, but you can move now." Yang Tian's face flushed when he heard the name Yang Xiaochang. Yang Tian's face instantly turned red. Because he had participated in this underground boxing market 20 times without dying. At most, he was heavily injured. Therefore, many people gave him the name Yang Xiaochang, meaning the unkillable Xiaochang. The hunk glanced at Yi Chen. "Yang Xiaochang, who's this guy?" "He is my friend. He is also here to participate in the competition," Yang Tian said coldly. The hunk snickered and said to Yi Chen while looking at him, "Great, another cockroach? Cockroach, since you're a new customer, you'll have to pay a deposit of 100,000 yuan first." "Don't all new customers have to pay a deposit of 10,000 yuan? Since when did it become 100,000? Yang Tian's expression changed, feeling very indignant. "My words are the rules. Enter or leave if you want." The burly man sneered. His voice fell. Yi Chen's eyes focused as he slammed his palm. Bang bang! The two burly men's bodies flew in heavily. No one knew if he was dead or alive. This series of actions was so fast that Yang Tian could not even see it clearly. When he finally reacted, he was shocked. Xiao Yezi, why are you talking so much to two dogs? Yi Chen retracted his hand slowly and said with an extremely cold expression. At the same time, inside King Fist City, there was a sofa before the fence on the second floor of the boxing ring. A young man in a suit was sitting on the chair with his legs crossed. The young man was approximately 24 or 25 years old. He was rather handsome, but his handsome face was filled with malice at the moment. Ding Lei tossed the phone in his hand and could not stop cursing. Useless! A bunch of useless people. His underling had called earlier. The operation of the 10 people that he sent had failed. 4 of them were missing, and their bodies were nowhere to be found. The underling standing next to him knelt immediately. He did not even dare to breathe loudly while trembling in fear. Ding Lei only asked a few seconds later, "Why didn't that useless Yang Tian come today?" "Master Ding, Yang Xiaoqiang just finished a fight a few days ago. His brow bone is broken. I'm guessing he won't be able to get up for at least 10 days to half a month," one of his underlings said immediately. "That useless thing is lucky." Ding Lei pulled a lady before him into his embrace. His hands were roaming all over her body in a domineering manner. The lady shrieked in pain and said while exhaling, "Master Ding, I don't understand. Yang Tian offended you, but you didn't kill him. Instead, you got him to fight in our boxing ring. What do you guys know?" Ding Lei looked at her in disdain and said with a scoff, "He offended me. It'll be too easy for me to kill him. I'll definitely make him wish he was dead. Wasn't he arrogant earlier? I'll take advantage of his son's weakness and force him to be my human punching bag. I'll torture him to the extreme. He'll be lucky if he dies in the boxing ring. If he's lucky enough to survive 80 rounds, I'll get someone to chop off the father and son's limbs. I'll cut off their tongues and eyeballs. I'll send them to the enamel circus to be crippled horses." Everyone's heart skipped a beat upon hearing that. The so-called crippled horses were people who were treated like animals and locked in cages in the circus for the tourists to watch. Some of the tourists would even throw darts at the people in the cages. Such a cruel act was popular in the West. At that moment 2 loud bangs were heard. 2 people flew in from the outside and landed heavily on the stage of the boxing field. The people were shocked. Subsequently, 2 people walked over slowly from the boxing ring's entrance. They were Yi Chen and Yang Tian. Ding Lei pushed the lady in his embrace away as soon as he saw Yang Tian. He stood up immediately and said with an extremely grim expression, "Yang Tian, what are you doing?" The boxing ring had been established for 2 years. Nobody had ever dared to challenge them. It was the first time something like that happened today. How could he not be furious? Yang Tian forced himself to explain, "I brought my friend here to fight, but we're here to destroy your place too." Yi Chen interrupted him before he was done speaking. Yi Chen looked around expressionlessly. The boxing ring was divided into 3 floors. People mainly gathered on the first floor. It occupied close to 1,000 square meters, and there were 3 spotlights hanging above them. Meanwhile, there was an empty space with a red carpet in the middle of the boxing ring. There were 3 rings on the empty space, and a few bare-chested people were swinging their fists faintly on them. There were approximately over 1,000 people gathered on the first floor of the boxing ring. However, everyone was watching Yi Chen and Ding Lei with bated breath. The 2 of them came here to fight, and they said that they were going to destroy the place? They were extraordinarily arrogant. Some of them could not help but look at Ding Lei by instinct. Ding Lei's expression was extremely terrible. He suddenly scoffed after glaring at Yi Chen. "Brother, are you sure you're here to fight? I have to remind you in advance that punching can kill people, okay? If you kneel now." Yi Chen looked into Ding Lei's eyes fearlessly and said expressionlessly, "Fighting is secondary. I'm here to borrow something from you. Borrow something from me? Ding Lei smiled instead of being mad. I wonder what you want to borrow. Don't tell me that you want to borrow a coffin from me. He was already pissed. Now that Yi Chen had messed around in public, he had the intention to kill Yi Chen. Bada. Yi Chen lit a cigarette slowly and smirked. He blew a smoke ring out of his mouth. Chapter 60. What? Want to borrow young Master Ding's head? The crowd was in an uproar as soon as Yi Chen said that. Everyone in the underground boxing arena held their breaths for a moment, thinking that they were hallucinating. This guy was really arrogant. Not only did he come here to cause trouble, he even dared to say that he wanted to borrow young Master Ding's head. To put it bluntly, didn't he want to kill him? This was insane. Who was young Master Ding? He was a member of the Lin City's wealthy Ding family. It was not an exaggeration to say that he had a terrifying background. He even ran several companies, such as this underground boxing arena. Who knew how many experts he had recruited? It's over. This kid is dead for sure. Everyone shook their heads subconsciously. Bastard. As expected, Ding Lei cursed as his face turned extremely grim. He had never been threatened like this before. He glared at Yi Chen coldly and did not hide the killing intent on his face at all. I'm right here. Let's see if you're capable enough to come and take my head. Meanwhile, the 10 hunks behind Ding Lei took a step forward at the same time. They glared at Yi Chen with killing intent on their faces. Hee, there's no rush. No one can refuse what I want to borrow. Yi Chen shook his head nonchalantly and said while smiling, Before that, I'd like to experience how your useless subordinates hurt my brother. Good. Very good. In that case, come onto the stage and sign the life and death contract. Ding Lei was so angry that he laughed. As soon as he said that, everyone's expression changed. Child Ding was really angry because in the underground black boxing, signing the life and death contract was the most taboo method. Unless it was absolutely necessary, few people would choose this method. Because once it was signed, it meant that there was no room for reconciliation, and it would not end until one of them died. Wait, Yi Chen suddenly said. Ding Lei thought he was afraid and wanted to go back on his words. He sneered and said, What? Scared? It's too late. I gave you a chance, but you didn't cherish it. No. Yi Chen flicked the ash off his cigarette. What I mean is, since we're going to fight, why don't we add some spice? Don't tell me you want to use this money to bet on your opponent? Ding Lei's face was full of disdain. Yi Chen stretched and smiled in satisfaction. I told you that I'm here to mess things up. I'll use this money to buy you a coffin after this, lest people say that I'm overbearing. Everyone was speechless. Aren't you domineering? The two of them single-handedly came to the door. Not only did they send the security guards flying, but they also broke the door and shamelessly said that they were here to cause trouble. If this wasn't overbearing, then what was? Ding Lei was so angry that he almost died. He immediately ordered his men to bring 5 full chests over. After opening them in front of everyone, he pointed at the cash inside and said, There's 100 million in here. If you win one round, I'll give you 10 million. If you lose, then, it would be impolite of me to decline. Yi Chen nodded in satisfaction before he could finish speaking. Ding Lei gritted his teeth and said, Fine, then come on stage and sign the life and death agreement. His voice fell. Immediately, someone began to clean up the arena. The onlookers couldn't help but subconsciously take a few steps back, their faces full of excitement. The dim light, the surging blood vessels, the waving fists, the flying flesh and blood, everyone who came here was looking for excitement from those elements. Imagine that the other party was fighting to the death in the arena while they were watching the show with their legs crossed, munching on melon seed. At the same time, they could also place their bet. Wasn't that perfect? Yi Chen glanced at the arena that was less than 50 steps away from him. Just when he was going to go up, Yang Tian, who was behind him, pulled him back. Bro, why don't I go up on your behalf? My life is worthless anyway, and I'm used to being beaten up. I'm tough, so I can take a beating. He regretted it when he saw that they had to sign the life and death agreement. Yi Chen smiled and said without answering his question, "Did you bring money?" Yes. Yang Tian was stunned. Then, he took out a stack of cash. "Just 10,000 yuan. Remember to bet on me. Who knows, we might be able to open 2 bottles of 1982 Lafite when we get back." Yi Chen patted his shoulder while smiling and walked into the arena without hesitation. Everyone's expression turned grim. Isn't he being too pretentious? The fight hasn't even begun, and he's already thinking about opening a Lafite to celebrate? Bro, I'm afraid that I can only buy you a coffin with this money. Yang Tian forced a smile. He had no idea what to do. Someone handed Yi Chen a pair of boxing gloves after he walked into the arena. He shook his head and rejected. "It's all right. I don't need this to fight these pieces of trash." Subsequently, he turned his head to look at Yang Tian, who was below the arena, and said, "Who's the first person who fought you? Point him out to me." Yang Tian hesitated for a moment as he took a good look at the crowd. Eventually, he stretched his arm and pointed at a half-naked young man with a ferocious face. "Come on up." Yi Chen squinted and looked at him. The man was stunned at first. Subsequently, he looked at Ding Lei, who was on the second floor. He seemed to be asking for his opinion as eagerness filled his eyes. "Wu Hong, kill him. I'll give you 1,000,000 yuan. Ding Lei nodded with a grim expression. Wu Hong was over the moon. He went into the arena immediately, afraid that someone would fight him for the money. As he went into the arena, the people below the arena exclaimed, "It's him, Wu Hong, who ranked No. 32 on the underground boxing leaderboard. I heard that he has a record of 5 consecutive victories. His punching speed is extremely fast. I can't believe this brat picked Wu Hong first. I wonder if he's stupid or overconfident. There's going to be a good show." Wu Hong was a head taller than Yi Chen. After putting on the boxing gloves, he gestured at Yi Chen in disdain and said while grinning, "Brat, it's your misfortune to pick me. I'll only need 3 moves to fight a piece of trash like you." Within 3 moves, before he was done speaking, he felt his vision blur. Someone seemed to have appeared before him within the blink of an eye. Subsequently, he felt an intense pain coming from his neck, and his vision went up. He saw the smiles on everyone's faces freeze. Their smiles were slowly turning into shock and fear. He even saw his lower body falling onto the ground. "I am dead?" That was the last thought that came to his mind before he died. A head fell with blood splattering. Yi Chen kicked, and the head flew directly to Ding Lei on the second floor. Ding Lei had yet to snap back to his senses from the shock earlier. He extended his arm to catch it by instinct. He shrieked in fear when he saw Wu Hong's eyes that were wide open. He tossed the head in his hand away immediately. Dead silence filled the arena. Everyone's eyes were wide open as they looked at the headless body on the arena. Wu Hong, who had 5 consecutive victories, was dead just like that? The strangest thing was that they did not even see how Wu Hong died from the beginning to the end. No one knew who retched, but everyone else started to retch as well. They loved blood. However, they had never seen such a gory scene before them. Yi Chen lifted his eyes to look at Ding Lei on the second floor. He grinned, revealing his white teeth.